What the hell? What the hell are the people from Konoha doing? Obito cursed viciously. At this time, apart from Obito, there is only Yugura, which is controlled by Obito, in the room. Obito can speak unscrupulously without having to worry about his own disguise. Needless to say, this kind of thinking must be done by Naruto. This time, I must find a chance to eradicate Naruto. Thinking that the plan to eliminate Uchiha was easily broken by Naruto, Obito felt angry. So angry. But Obito can only be angry, but dare not approach the door. Because he can't beat Naruto. This is what pissed off Obito the most. Obito still clearly remembered how he was beaten up by Naruto on the roof that night and almost couldn't go back. When I went back, I was in a dazed state. Fortunately, Itachi's condition is not good, even worse than Obito. Otherwise Obito at that time would not have time to pay attention to whether his true identity was exposed. This Chunin exam is a great opportunity. When the ninjas of the 5 great ninja villages gather together, it will inevitably become a mess. When the time comes, I will be able to eradicate Naruto, the biggest variable, if I am given enough chances. Hey hey hey. Hey hey hey. In the room, Obito's insidious laughter filled the room. The 2 days are over quickly. Everyone's previously depressed state has been adjusted well. It is really that the written test questions at the gate are too out of the box, and they memorized all kinds of materials in those few days and their heads were dizzy. It took 2 full days to slow down. This is also their tolerance is strong enough. Otherwise, it would take at least half a year for an ordinary person to come over. Soon, candidates with different thoughts gradually gathered in the examination room. Because there are so many candidates participating this time, the examination room provided by Konoha is also the largest room, which can accommodate a full 3,000 people. Of course, the candidates are not full, but there are still thousands of people. Among them, the 5 major countries have the most ninjas, accounted for about half of the total number of people. But the most eye-catching ones are those who can see the uniqueness at a glance. Such as Sanagakure's Gaara, Tamari, Kankuro. The identities and attires of the 3 were very conspicuous among the Sand Shinobi wearing white robes. Facing the next exam, the 3 did not show any nervousness. Then there is the Black Soil of Iwagakure. Like Gaara and the 3 of them, Black Soil also has a family relationship with the contemporary film in his own village. But at this time, Haitu seemed a little excited, because she finally saw Naruto Hill. After she entered Konoha village before, she has been looking for Naruto everywhere. But I don't know if it was a coincidence, or really no fate. Naruto didn't deliberately avoid the Black Soil, but every time the 2 couldn't touch each other. Always Naruto walks on the front foot, and the Black Soil will appear on the back foot. Wherever Naruto appears. This even made Kuroda think that he was hated by Naruto, which made Kuroda very depressed. Now, Black Earth finally sees Naruto. If it wasn't for being in the examination room, Black Soil would have rushed straight up. There are also a few people from Yinin village who look special. Whether it is the symbiotic state of the left and right, or the 3 pairs of arms of Kidomaru, they are all very eye-catching. One after another guessed what kind of stunt they possessed. As everyone knows, next to them, Kidomaru, who looks ordinary and has some small white hair, is the one with special skills. Yes, Orochimaru sent all his men out to ensure maximum damage to Naruto. In addition to the Itonin 5, there is also a trio that performed fairly well in Genin. Jintu, Sack Stirrup, and Toss Anvil. Not only that, but Orochimaru also dispatched the spy trio that he had planted in Konoha. Pocket, Jien Meichung, Red Copper Armor. In addition to these people, they also brought several teams of cannon fodder. Even Orochimaru himself is hidden in a pair of cannon fodder, just to be able to find an opportunity to take Naruto's body away at close range. At this time, Orochimaru, who was not installed, was sitting in an inconspicuous corner, looking at Naruto's back with expectant eyes. Just wait, I will definitely get your body, Naruto. As he said that, Orochimaru, who couldn't help being excited, licked his lips deeply with his tongue. Orochimaru brought several teams of cannon fodder. But in terms of the amount of cannon fodder, it is far inferior to Cloud Shinobi and Yuan Yin. The number of examinees in these 2 ninja villages is a full 300, and the ninjutsu of each village is almost on par with the organizers' Konoha. But most of them are people who are used to make up the numbers. The reason for the existence of so many candidates is to hide the real killer of the 2 villages. A dozen Jonin disguised as hidden in Genin. Obviously, both Raikage and Obito have secrets in this Chunin exam. Of course, the 5 major countries participating in this test are all uneasy in kind. Only those small ninja villages still hope to pass the examination in this grand Chunin exam and make their ninja village famous. The number of Konoha taking the exam is around 150 people. Among them, There are only more than 30 official genin ninjutsu, and the rest are all students from the same class as Naruto. From this, we can also see how outrageous it is for Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi to make up so much genin. After all, Konoha is the head of the 5 major villages, and there are only more than 30 genin who are suitable to take the Chunin exam, including 3 Orochimaru spies. As a result, you Cloud Shinobi Mist Shinobi took out more than 100 suitable genin without saying a word? What about fooling around? Especially Mist Shinobi. Now the reputation of the Blood Mist is resounding. Every ninja school graduates have to go through a lot of fighting, and the remaining talents can graduate. Under such circumstances, how could so many genin be produced? Isn't this just kidding? Who can believe this? Believe it or not, Naruto doesn't believe it anyway. Although Naruto didn't look at it specifically, observation haki has already summed up all the situations in Naruto's mind. In addition to the 5 great nations and Yinin village, the other thing Naruto cares about is Rain Shinobi village. But after paying attention, Naruto stopped paying attention. Forget about the accompanying Rain Shinobi village ninjas. The only people Akatsuki organized to take the Chunin exam were Deidara and Hidan, who seemed to be of the right age and had gone through some disguises. The other Akatsuki members did not pretend to join this Chunin exam. Judging from the fact that all their members are present, they attach great importance to this unique Chunin exam. But compared to the situation in other ninja villages, it doesn't pay that much attention. But Naruto can understand Pain's scruples. After all, the Shao organization is still spreading in a small area, and most people don't know the situation of the Shao organization, and no one knows the real purpose of the Shao organization. If the Akatsuki organization reveals too much power at this time, with the unique location of the Rain Country, it is impossible for the 5 great ninja villages to leave this confidant trouble. Therefore, even if the current Shao organization has Pain as a big killer, it can only hang on and wait for the right opportunity. Apart from these people, there is no existence that Naruto cares about. At this time, Naruto was concentrating with his eyes closed, waiting for the start of the exam. Everyone kept looking left and right. Some people are nervous, some are curious, and some want to collect some information. In a silent, but very lively atmosphere, the door is opened. A man with a head full of scars walked in first. Behind him, followed by a group of Chunin dressed as expressionless Konoha shinobi. The person here is none other than Konoha torture squad leader, Morinai. Some people who are familiar with Morino Ibiki can't help but swallow their saliva when they see his face. Just because in the world of torture, Morino Ibiki's name is too famous. No one wants to fall into the hands of such a person. Hibiki Mori came to the podium and stood up, while the Chunins who followed behind him walked to both sides of the candidates to invigilate the exam. To make a long story short, I am the chief examiner of the first exam. I think some people should know my name. My name is Morino Ihiki, and I like torture. This exam is a written exam, I think you should have experienced it. Distribute the papers first, and you have 2 minutes to mark the papers. You can only read the test papers during the marking time, but you cannot answer them. If someone violates the test, you will be disqualified from the test immediately. Only when I say start answering questions can you answer questions. Do you understand? The audience was silent, and no one responded. We are not those naive children who say what the teacher says. But Ibiki Morino was very satisfied with everyone's reaction. Afterwards, Morinoi Hibiki nodded, and the invigilators sitting on both sides began to distribute the test papers. Those who got the test paper couldn't wait to look through it. Then, dumbfounded. 1. The domain of the known function f, x, equals 2ms in 2 by minus 2 msin x cos x plus n is 0, yuan, 2. And the value range is minus 5, 4. Try to find the function g, x, equals msin x plus 2 ncos x, the minimum positive period and maximum value of x, r. 2. 2 people are throwing. The probability of A hitting the target in one throw is p1, and the probability of B hitting the target in one throw is p25.1. It is known that 1 p1 and 1 p2 are the roots of the equation x2 to 5x plus 6 equals 0. If 2 people each is thrown 5 times, but the variance of is 5 quarters. 1. Calculate the values of p1 and p2. 2. Each person throws 2 times and hits the target at least 3 times to complete the goal. What is the probability of accomplishing the goal? 3. Each of the 2 throws once and hits the target at least once to complete the goal. What is the probability of accomplishing the goal? 3. Suppose f, x, is an even function defined on -1, 1, the image of g, x, and the image of f, x, are symmetrical about the line x equals 1, and when x, 2, 3, g, x, equals 2a, x2, minus 4, 1, Find the analytical formula of f, x, 2, if f, x, is an increasing function on 0, 1, find the value range. 3. Is there a positive integer a that makes the highest point of the image of f, x, fall on the straight line y equals 12? If it exists, find the value of a. If it does not exist, please explain the reason. Everyone is dead. Obviously know every word. But after being connected, it is so strange. At this moment, the candidates from other ninja villages all fell into infinite silence. When they saw this question, they realized that the question of the entry test a week ago was nothing at all. After a full minute of silence, the examination room finally erupted. Is this stepping on a horse a problem that humans can make? Stop joking. I'm here to take the Chunin exam, not to learn such useless knowledge. I don't think you Konoha intend to let us pass at all. It's really despicable. Is this Dawn Ninja Village? They used such dirty methods. Whoever loves to take the Chunin exam will take it. Lousy will not take the exam. Someone stood up on the spot, turned around and left. However, when he reached the door, he walked more and more slowly, with cold sweat constantly breaking out on his forehead. Why does everyone pull me? I'm just saying it casually. However, until this person left the examination room with stiff feet, no one shot to stop him. Even his fellow villagers. After the person left, Moribi said. If you are good ninjas, you should be aware of the importance of obtaining information. If you feel that the questions are too difficult, you can also give up this exam like the previous one and wait until next year. Morino Ibiki has already given basic hints. In addition to the basic knowledge of the postgraduate entrance examination, the written test is for candidates to demonstrate their ability to obtain information. After all, they are ninjas, and the most important thing for ninjas is not so much profound knowledge, but the various means they have to achieve their goals. For this reason, Morinoi Bixi specially arranged for 2 Chunins to write the standard answers. Thinking about it, Morinoi Bixi glanced at the 2 Chunins he had arranged. As a result, Morino Ibiki was stunned. I saw the 2 Chunins assigned were sweating profusely and winking at him. That means clearly, they will not. This is bad. Morino Ibiki immediately understood the seriousness of the matter. Even the Chunin who was assigned to know the answer, so what the hell are the examinees copying? This test is about to be screwed up. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, Morino Ibiki said immediately. The test is temporarily suspended, something unexpected happened, please wait for 5 minutes. After finishing speaking, he ignored the examination room which suddenly became noisy, and left on his own. The Chunins who invigilated the exam on both sides felt baffled. They don't know what the test is about, lest candidates control them to get the answers. Therefore, they don't know the predicament that just happened. After Morinoi Hibiki left the examination room, he found a generation without stopping. Master Hokage, there is a problem with the exam. Morinoi Bixi lowered his head and said. 3rd generation frowned suddenly. What is the problem? 3rd generation only wanted to solve this Chunin exam safely, without any accidents. The result was just the beginning, and the accident appeared? Are you joking? Morinoi Hibiki also knew that it was his own negligence, so he inserted the 2 Chunins without considering the capabilities of the 2 Chunins. The result is the embarrassing situation now. Mori Na lowered his head lower than she. Master Hokage, the secret agents who have been arranged to enter don't know the correct answer. What should we do now? 3rd generation was dumbfounded. WTF? Isn't this exam a postgraduate information acquisition ability? As a result, the information to be obtained is gone? Isn't this a joke? But after thinking about it, 3rd generation found another way. Since this is the case, let's lower the standard, otherwise there will be no qualified ones, and it will be too embarrassing. Also, I don't know how other people are doing, but Naruto's grades are definitely good. It's also intelligence acquisition. When the time comes they will change from a designated target to an unknown target. How to distinguish the correctness of information is also the 3rd compulsory course for ninjas. Morino Ibiki immediately said with admiration. As expected of Master Hokage, you are very thoughtful. 3rd generation nodded proudly and said. Go ahead, I'll leave it to you. Morinoi Hibiki nodded, and then hurried back to the examination room without stopping. When everyone saw that the examiner had returned, their noisy voices suddenly subsided, and they focused their eyes on Mori Ibi. Considering the difficulty of this exam, I specially decided that a score of more than 20 is considered a pass. Cheating is strictly prohibited during the exam. Once it is found more than 3 times, it will be eliminated and the exam qualification will be cancelled. Hearing Morino Ibiki's words, the candidates all lowered their heads to look at the paper. The overall 150-point test paper, if only 20 points are tested, the problem is not big. After all, I took the test when I entered the school. Although it is not as complicated as it is now, I still have to memorize the review materials. As long as the logic rules are done well, it should be no problem to score 20 points in the test. Now, everyone felt confident again. I have an objection. At this time, Naruto raised his hand high and stood up. Seeing Naruto standing up, a bunch of people instinctively frowned. Shikamaru and even Naruto's character, seeing Naruto's behavior, will definitely make an amazing move next. But they are used to it. But obviously, some people are not used to it. Who is this kid? Will the examiner accept it if you have any objections? What do you think the examiner is? Sit down, kid. Don't be ashamed. Don't make trouble. You don't want to improve your test scores, do you? Naruto ignored the sound of crusade coming from all directions, but just looked at Morino Ibiki with burning eyes. Morinoi Hiki naturally knows how powerful Naruto is. Being able to serve as an examiner this time was also a result of being drilled hard under Naruto's hands. Seeing Naruto stand up now, Morino Ibiki also feels a headache. But other people don't know Naruto's identity. Morino Ibiki must be very aware of Naruto's identity. Especially now that Naruto is a big hit with third generation. Naturally, Hibiki Morino did not dare to neglect. What objection do you have? Don't say anything to embarrass me, Naruto. Naruto immediately spoke righteously. This Chunin exam is unprecedented and unprecedented. It can be said that this Chunin exam gathered the rising stars of the entire ninja world, and all the future stars of each ninja village gathered here. If the score in the written test is only 20, isn't it a humiliation for these candidates? So, I suggest that the passing score be raised to 60 points, so that this number can treat them as geniuses. Stop talking. Humiliation. It's humiliation if you fail. We are not geniuses, we are just ordinary people. You villain of Konoha, you are restless and kind. Can you still answer 60 points correctly? Stop talking. Sinister intentions. Despicable villain. Everyone cursed angrily. If it wasn't that he didn't dare to move around, he might have rushed over to cover Naruto's mouth. But now the only one who can stop Naruto is Morino Ibiki. Candidates looked at the examiner one after another. In the anticipation of everyone, Morino Ibiki slowly shook his head. No, this is the result of Morino Ibiki's discussion with third generation just now. If Naruto is agreed, I am afraid that apart from Naruto's students who have passed, I am afraid that there will be no passers from other ninja villages. If this is the case, what will they look like in the eyes of the outside world? Do you eat alone? It's too ugly to eat. So, Ibiki shook his head decisively and refused. However, what Morino Ibiki did not expect was that Naruto did not give up. Then it's 55, it can't be lower. Do you think this is a vegetable market? Morino Ibiki complained in his heart, but he still said it. 25 points. Naruto continued immediately. 50 points. 30, 45, 35, 40. No, B points. Hibiki Morino did not back down anymore, and fixed the passing line at 35 points. Although it only increased by 15 points, it made the whole examination room full of mourning. They all stared at Naruto with hatred, wishing to eat his flesh, drink his blood, cramp his tendons, and smash his bones to ashes. Don't let me meet you in the next actual battle. Otherwise, I will definitely kill you. I remember your appearance. Just clean your neck and wait. If I fail today because of these 15 points, then you can just wait. Today's enmity is irreconcilable. Everyone made hate speeches against Naruto. But Naruto didn't respond. When everyone saw it, they became even more angry. Look, everyone, this guy has no sense of doing something wrong. We must teach him a lesson he will never forget. That's right, it's really disgusting. I recommend that such a vicious person be disqualified from the exam. I also suggest, this kind of person is really despicable, he must not be qualified. Examiner, do you want to cover up such a humble person? Examiner, if you don't make a decision that satisfies everyone today, we won't take the exam today. Morino Hibiki's eyes suddenly focused on the speaker. Are you sure you want to quit the exam? This person was stared at by Morino Ibiki's eyes, and he didn't dare to speak out. He looked at the others for help, but found that everyone avoided his sight. As if it wasn't them who shouted with him just now. They are just talking about it, but they don't want to quit the exam. I didn't. The man had no choice but to sit down obediently. Morino Hibiki waited for a moment, and after finding that no one was speaking, he nodded and said. Since no one has any objections, then the exam will be formal. Immediately, the candidates who couldn't wait to answer immediately began to answer. Whether it is or not, at least put on an appearance. Otherwise, if you just sit and do nothing, it will easily attract the attention of the invigilator, and if you want to cheat and copy at that time, you will be discovered easily. After 3 times, even if I don't want to, I can only withdraw from this grand Chunin exam. The ninjas in Da-Nin village have evil intentions. The ninjas in Shaonin village couldn't bear to give up this big stage. Everyone worked hard, and 10 minutes after the start of the exam, each showed their abilities and chose to focus on the target to start copying the answers. The examination room became quiet. There is only the rustling sound of brushstrokes falling on the scroll surface. Soon, however, the silence was broken. Number 138 goes out. An invigilator pointed at a candidate and said calmly. Candidate number 138, who was stopped, pointed at himself in disbelief. Why? The proctor didn't explain anything, just repeated it. Go out. Number 138 stood up abruptly, clenched his hands tightly to resist. But soon, he let go of his hands dejectedly, turned and left the examination room. Number 138 had a fluke mentality in his heart, thinking that his cheating methods would not be discovered. But who knows, before he knew it, he had been caught cheating 3 times and had to leave this Chunin exam. And the exit of number 138 seems to be a signal. Number 247, get out. Number 369, get out. N*220, get out. 439, get out. More and more candidates were found to be cheating and kicked out. Some people left dejectedly, and some people resisted passionately but were immediately suppressed, and they were told that they would not be able to take the Chunin exam again in this life. In the classroom that was originally full, a third of Karakuras soon appeared. Just one written test has already eliminated 1/3 of the candidates. Finally, the long hour is over. The invigilators collected the test papers one by one and gave them to Morino Ibiki for marking. After all, the proctors don't know the correct answer, and they can't do it if they want to score. In less than 10 minutes, Ibi Mori had graded all the test papers. Then, the test results were read out in public. Gaara, 37 points, pass. Serena, 31 points, unqualified. Black Soil, 38 points, qualified. Kidomaru, 42 points, pass. Cool, 18 points, unqualified. Inuzuka Tooth, 66 points, pass. Wow. Everyone's eyes were immediately attracted to Ya. Among people with a score of 30 or 40, Inuzuka Ya, who got a high score of more than 60, seemed so out of place. And the surname Inuzuka is exactly Konoha's famous ninja. For a while, other people in Ninja Village wanted to see what the Konoha shinobi who won the high score looked like. Then they saw Ya holding his head in frustration. It's only 66 points. Oops, Naruto must say it. Ya held his head, his face full of despair. This scene fell in the eyes of other people, and they immediately scolded in their hearts. Konoha's bastard is actually acting good when he gets cheap? It's downright disgusting. And those who failed to pass looked at their teeth in annoyance. They never imagined that the tooth that looked like a mischievous child could score so many points in the test. If I knew it, I would have copied the answer. Morino Hibiki didn't care about the candidate's thoughts, he just continued to call out the candidate's results silently. Yukushi Kabuto, 57 points, pass. Another high score. And it's Leafy. Everyone suddenly had a bad feeling. Are all Konoha's examinees taking the age test? How can it be? How could it be possible for all Konoha candidates to get high marks for such a terrifying question? Do breathed a sigh of relief. Do doesn't know these questions, but Do knows who can, so he chooses the right person to copy the correct answers, and he gets a score far beyond the passing line. Ibiki Morino continued to report results. DeLong Wan, 68 points, qualified. Another high score. And this time it's not Konoha's ninja. Everyone looked over one after another, and saw the forehead protector of Yinin village on Tianlongji's forehead. Orochimaru, who goes by the pseudonym Daryu Maru, has a reserved smile on his face. As a senior scientist, although this kind of topic is difficult, it is not difficult for him. Tayuya, 35 points, pass. Kidomaru, 37 points, qualified. Zuo Jin, 38 points, qualified. Jirobo, 35 points, pass. Although they are stepping on the passing line, at least a few people from Yinin village have passed. This result immediately pulled everyone's hearts back. Such results are normal. The few high scores just now were too prominent, not normal at all. And the series of results that followed convinced everyone that those high scores were just occasional cases. Until Morino Ibiki began to read the results of Konoha candidates. Hyuga Neji, 87 points, passed. Hyuga Hinata, 78 points, pass. Haruno Sakura, 94 points, pass. Nara Shikamaru, 102 points, pass. Locke Lee, 54 points, qualified. Akamichi Choji, 56 points, passed. Aburame Shino, 83 points, passed. Yamanaka Ino, 92 points, pass. Daily, 77 points, qualified. Uchiha Sasuke, 105 points, pass. Everyone's eyes widened, looking at these 7-year-old children in disbelief. Are they really 7 years old? The person who can achieve this kind of test result is 7 years old? Everyone couldn't believe it. Even Orochimaru's eyes widened. Even Orochimaru found it difficult and could only score 68 points in the test. It turned out that this group of students still had more than 100 points in the test? Wait. Why no Naruto results? Orochimaru immediately realized something was wrong. Looking up at Morino Ibiki, I found that Morino Ibiki's eyes also widened. No? Could it be? Others also noticed Morino Ibiki's pause, and all focused their attention on the chief examiner. Gudong. Swallowing with difficulty, Ibiki Morino announced with a dry mouth. Uzumaki Naruto, 150 points, full score, passed. Wow. Full score? How could it be possible to get a full score? Is this Uzumaki Naruto a monster? I only got 35 points. This is too exaggerated. Who is this Uzumaki Naruto? He got all the answers right? There is a shady. There must be a shady. Unbelievable. They are only 7 years old. How can they do these topics that even adults can't understand? Is Konoha's education so hardcore now? Konoha really deserves to be the top of the 5 great ninja villages. Look at the scores of the candidates from the 5 great ninja villages. Their Konohas are just a group of 7-year-old children, and they have scored so many points. There is even a perfect score. The whole examination room was ignited by Naruto's perfect score. All eyes were on Naruto. Some people know who Naruto is, some don't. But from this moment on, everyone knows Naruto's name. Because of Naruto's unbelievable perfect score. Some people even questioned that there was a shady scene in the exam. I just thought this guy didn't pass the test. Silence. Silence. Morinoe Bixie controlled the scene seriously. After all, his duties were not over yet. Candidates who fail, please leave immediately. Don't make me repeat it a second time. If anyone tries to get away with it, they will be permanently disqualified from taking the Chunin exam if they are found. Candidates with unqualified grades stood up one by one. They escaped the eyes of the invigilator, but they fell in the grade. The difficulty of these questions is beyond the sky. But just like that, there are still people who can fill the boat. With unwilling emotions, the candidates who failed to pass left one after another. And the candidates who passed were full of joy. Although the scores were on the passing line, at least they passed. Also able to go on to take the Chunin exam. Morinoe was overjoyed to see that no one left his seat, so he took out a scroll and said, "Okay, the math test is over, next is Chinese. The invigilator is here to distribute the papers. The qualifying line this time is still 35 points, please work hard." WTF. This written test is not over yet. Except for the Konoha Shinobi School students who were able to do their best, everyone's eyes widened. Isn't the written test over? Someone couldn't help asking. Why do you still have to take the test? Do you want to reduce the number of passers to less than half in this level? Morino Ibiki said. No one said that there is only one written test. In addition to mathematics and Chinese, there are also subjects such as physics, chemistry, biology, music, and painting. After passing the written test, there is also a basic test, which is an upgraded version of the test you passed when you entered Konoha. These are all the content of today's assessment. Everyone was even more desperate when they heard this. Just one math has already eliminated more than 1/3 of the people. Now there are still 5 or 6 exams. This is simply killing people. And I have passed the written test and the physical test. This is simply no way out. For a time, the entire examination room was filled with chaos. But no one dared to complain loudly, because Morinoe Hibiki is the examiner. He has the power to disqualify those who make trouble. After finally passing the math test, they didn't want their efforts to go to waste. On the other hand, Naruto and the others, who had been prepared for this result, were very flat at this time. Even Naruto frowned, feeling that the passing mark was a bit low. But just as Naruto was about to raise his hand to comment, Ibiki Morino, who had been paying attention to Naruto's attitude, spoke directly. The exam begins, not giving Naruto a chance at all. I'm also afraid that Naruto is making some fools. Although it is the task of the chief examiner to eliminate most unqualified candidates. But if all the people in other ninja villages were eliminated, it would be unreasonable. At least in the eyes of others, it seems that Konoha is too arbitrary. This is not good for Konoha's image. The examination room quickly became quiet. Even if the candidates are unwilling, they can only accept their fate and continue the exam. Fortunately, this time they have the exact correct answer to copy. As long as it is not discovered by the invigilator, it is not a big problem to pass the written test. The physical exam is also okay. After all, I passed it when I entered Konoha. Even if it increases some difficulty, it is not unacceptable. In the silence, only the invigilator occasionally made a sound. Every time a sound is made, it means that a candidate has to leave the examination room. A tense and depressive atmosphere hangs over the heads of the ninjas in the outer village. They never thought that it would be so difficult to advance to Chunin. Is this the selection of Chunin, or the selection of Jonin? This is outrageous too. The first day of the Chunin exam is over. After a whole day of written and physical examinations, less than half of the candidates survived. Among them, Konoha's ninjas accounted for about half. Not one of Naruto's ninja school students with hundreds of people in this year was eliminated. It deeply shocked the other ninja village candidates who came to participate. Of course, Naruto is naturally the most dazzling person in the whole examination process. He got full marks in all subjects in the written test, and was far ahead in the physical test. Faced with this perfect answer sheet, Konoha, as the organizer, is naturally very pleased. Third generation's face was so smiling that he couldn't see his eyes. It's all folds. But people in other villages couldn't laugh anymore. A bunch of trash. Boom. Raikage vented his anger by smashing a table with one punch. They cannot stand by during the exam, so it was only after the candidates came back from the exam that they learned the news of the exam. Then, hearing the news that more than half of the Cloud Shinobi candidates were eliminated, I truly was furious. Although I knew that this Chunin exam was difficult. But as the second child of the dignified Five Great Ninja Village, I really couldn't accept this situation. Brother, calm down. Everyone has suffered a heavy loss this time except for Konoha. Others did not dare to say anything, and only Killer B dared to step forward to persuade I when he was angry. Especially the people of Iwagakure. It is said that 2/3 of the people were eliminated. When I heard this, the anger in his heart suddenly eased a lot. Is this real? Darui nodded quickly. It's true, I saw 3rd Tsuchikage's face turn purple with anger. Ha 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 ha. I suddenly laughed heartily. That old man Onogi deserves it. Forget it, it's useless to worry about so much. Anyway, the purpose of this time is not for to really take the Chunin exam. The real highlight is tomorrow's exam. As long as you find an opportunity, there must be no hesitation. Ai's face was filled with killing intent. Others also looked serious. If those Cloud Shinobi are eliminated, just eliminate them. Anyway, they are only used for appearance. As long as the disguised Jonin are not eliminated, their plans will continue as usual. In tomorrow's actual combat test, find an opportunity to kill Uzumaki Naruto completely, lest Naruto grow up and threaten the status of Cloud Shinobi village. Yes, heavenly beings. Everyone answered in unison, with murderous intent in their eyes. Next door to the Country of Thunder guest house is the Country of King's guest house. At this time, Dang Guangming was bright in the room, but the faces of the people in the room seemed somewhat solemn. It seems that after going back this time, we must pay attention to Genin's education. A test that eliminated 2/3 of the candidates. Are we still one of the top 5 countries? Onoki's expression was incomparably dignified. Several Jonin, including Huang Tu, had serious faces, realizing the seriousness of the matter. This is an event related to the prestige of the 5 major countries. Father, Lord Tsuchikage. Just as Huang Tu wanted to call his father, he was immediately glared at by Inomu, and quickly changed his words. What should we do next? Tomorrow is the actual combat assessment. Are we really not going to do anything? Onoki said coldly. What can you do with these crooked melons and cracked dates? After participating honestly, go back quickly, don't continue to embarrass yourself here. Haitu, take care to protect yourself tomorrow. Onoki told Haitu, who was a little stunned, and then said with a serious face. I can feel that fellow Raikage must be plotting something wrong, and tomorrow is bound to be a bloodbath. Haitu, you must be careful, do you understand? After being named twice in a row, Kuroda finally came to his senses. She didn't hear what her grandfather said, but when everyone's eyes were on her, she suddenly nodded and said. Got it, Grandpa. Although Black Soil himself didn't know what he knew. But it's definitely true to say that, just ask Dad secretly later. Onoki saw that his granddaughter was absent-minded, so he sighed in his heart and didn't care. Anyway, my granddaughter can fly, so if she wants to endanger, it's fine. In short, we will not wade in this muddy water. Onoki said seriously. As you know, Huang Tu, if you want to deal with that Naruto, unless there is a specific method to limit his speed, it is basically impossible. Huang too couldn't help but nodded when he thought of the speed at which Naruto broke through the sound barrier when he saw it. Really. At that speed, no one can stop it at all. Even if an ambush is set in advance, it may not be able to stop it. It is too fast. I see, Master Tian Ying. Because I have seen Naruto's speed, Onogi came here this time purely to join in the fun. By the way, take a look at the excitement of other ninja villages. However, what Onoki didn't expect was that their Iwagakure was about to become a joke among the 5 major countries. Because after the first day of the exam, among the 5 major countries, the most failed students were their land of Earth. Even the land of Winds, which is at the bottom of the list, has more qualified people than the land of Earth. Country of Wind Guest House. The room was brightly lit, illuminating several people in the room. Chio, Luosha, Baki, and Gaara. I have to admit that the current Konoha is so unfamiliar that it makes people afraid. Rosa said with a sigh. Obviously they are all a group of children of the same age as Gaara, but in terms of basic strength, I am afraid that they have surpassed the ordinary Chunin. If you let those children grow up. Luo Sha didn't finish speaking, but just thought about the scene for a while, and the complexions of several people present couldn't help but sink. It's just so hopeless. Today's exam has passed, and the next thing we need to pay attention to is tomorrow's practical exam. Chio said calmly. In my opinion, the big-nosed old man from the land of Earth and the muscular idiot from the land of Thunder will definitely make moves. You 3, be careful, don't get involved. Of course, if a suitable opportunity is found. Chio's eyes turned cold, and he swiped his thumb across his neck. Although it is not stated explicitly, everything has been explained. However, Chio didn't know that Onogi didn't plan to do anything at all. After all, Onoki has seen Naruto's speed. Knowing that it would be difficult to keep Naruto with his own subordinates, he simply didn't bother with that effort. Luo Sha nodded and said, remember, if it's not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, don't make a move. After all, if he shot but didn't kill Naruto, it would be easy to turn against Konoha. Now the Kingdom of the Wind and Konoha are allies, and the trade between each other is the bulk of the income of the Kingdom of the Wind. It would not be good news for the Land of Winds if the alliance relationship was broken due to this. Yes. Father. As the big sister, Temari nodded and answered with a serious face. Gaara remained expressionless and said nothing. However, there was a strong killing intent in his eyes. Konkuro on the side felt Gaara's killing intent, and his body couldn't help shivering. Water Country Guest House. Obito controls Yugura back to the room. He was a little dazed by the exam situation he had just received from his subordinates. Although the elimination rate is better than Rock Shinobi, Mist Shinobi still eliminated a lot of people. Fortunately, Jonin arranged by Obito was not eliminated, and it did not affect tomorrow's plan. However, those unbelievable test questions and various super difficult physical test items plunged Dao out into deep doubts. How long have I been away? Why is this Konoha so strange? When did the written test have to take so many items? And what the hell are music and paintings? Where do ninjas need to use these things? These are outrageous. What kind of all-round development of morality, intelligence, physique, art and labor? I think it must be a moth made by Naruto. Thinking of this, Dai Wang was suddenly worried. Wait. Did Uzumaki Naruto discover something? Did he realize that someone would take advantage of the Chunin exam to assassinate him? That's why you come up with these strange things? No. If you really notice it, as long as you don't invite us, wouldn't it be fine? There is absolutely no need to make all the ninja villages participate with great fanfare. Obito fell into doubt and couldn't figure it out. If I can't figure it out, I just don't want to. As long as Naruto is solved tomorrow, all the troubles will be gone. Tomorrow's affairs must be perfect. Obito's eyes froze. This time, in order to ensure the smooth completion of the plan, Obito installed a dozen Jonin under his control. With this amount, even Obito dare not say that he can win 100%. Obito believed that Naruto could not deal with these people easily. And Obito knew that he was definitely not the only one who would deal with Naruto tomorrow. Taking advantage of the chaos at that time, the success rate will definitely increase significantly. Fishing in troubled waters, Obito is very good at muddying the waters. Rain Country Guest House. The 5 major countries really suffered heavy losses. But it's the same for Ninja Village. Except for Konoha, Konoha's ninjas are really pervert. Then they were able to get such high marks for the pervert question. Especially Uzumaki Naruto, who can get full marks in every subject. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't seem like something a human can do. Deidara and Hidan talk about the situation in the exam. The two naturally passed the exam, but not many people in Rain Shinobi Village passed the exam. But it doesn't matter. Pain didn't expect those rain shinobi to interfere with Naruto either. In fact, it still depends on the performance of Deidara and Hidan. And there has to be a chance. Deidara and Hidan won't make a shot if they don't have the chance. If you don't find a chance in tomorrow's exam, give up the mission and don't continue. Pain said so. We're not here to take the Chunin exam, so try not to expose yourself if you don't have a chance to kill Naruto. We are here to act. Deidara and Hidan nodded. We understand. Yinren Village Guest House. Even Orochimaru's carefully selected candidate has exhaustion on his face at the moment. It is not the body that is tired, but their spirit. Those extremely complicated topics made them feel dazzled just by looking at them. If it wasn't for the option of copying other people's answers, none of them would be able to pass the exam. I know it's been a painful day for you, but I want to remind you that you must never forget why we are here. Orochimaru looked around and said, we have only one goal, that is to take advantage of the chaos of tomorrow's exam and take Naruto's body away. Speaking of Naruto, Orochimaru's eyes suddenly revealed a look of greed. For Naruto's gifted body, because he has been fascinated for a long time. This Chunin exam is a godsend for Orochimaru, a great opportunity. Orochimaru must seize what may well be the only chance in this lifetime. Yes, because of the snake. The 5 Yinren bowed their heads in agreement. Looking aside, the 2 teammates did not appear. After all, Do and his 2 teammates are now Konoha's ninjas, so it's a bit confusing to rashly appear in other guest houses. Therefore, only one person came here to avoid suspicion caused by too many people. Master Orochimaru, there are many variables this time, so we still need to be careful. Pocket aside to advise. Also, according to my subordinate's observation, we are probably not the only ones who want to attack Naruto. Orochimaru had expected this. This is normal. After seeing Naruto's excellence, the shadows of other ninja villages naturally cannot let Naruto grow up like this. I'm sure there will be Jonin who sneaked into the candidates, just for tomorrow's practical exam. This is also our chance. After all, Naruto's vigilance is very high. If there is no other person to attract Naruto's attention, it will be difficult for us to succeed. Do lowered his head and said, it seems that everything is according to Orochimaru-sama's plan. Orochimaru smiled and said, I'm already a little impatient. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. In the room, only Orochimaru's dark laughter remained. After a night's rest, the candidates' spirits were almost recovered. Soon, candidates who passed the first test were taken to the entrance of the second test. That is the Forest of Death. The chief examiner is Mitarashi Anko. Anko's training under Naruto was the most active one for the position of chief examiner this time. Looking at the many candidates, Anko couldn't help but wrinkle. I didn't expect that there would be so many people left. But it doesn't matter. After passing the second test, the number of people will definitely drop significantly. Anko is very confident about this. Next, I will explain the rules of this exam. Because of the number of people, there are a total of 10 entrances open this time. Enter a team every 5 minutes. Good scores will be given priority. I think you should know what that means. As for what is your purpose of going in? That is this. As he said that, 2 more scrolls appeared in Anko's hand. One scroll is written with the word Tien, and the other is written with Dichin. The team that goes in will be randomly assigned one of the 2 scrolls. As long as you collect 2 different scrolls and arrive at the designated place, you will complete the exam. You can use any means to snatch other people's scrolls, but whether the scrolls in other people's hands is different from yours, you need to verify it yourself. During the exam, you must not open the scroll without authorization, otherwise you will immediately lose your qualification for the exam. The exam time is 7 days. Within 7 days, you need to collect 2 scrolls, and then arrive at the abandoned sentry tower in the center of the forest. Any objections? If not, the exam starts now. Those whose names are called, come forward to claim their own scrolls. Anko took out the prepared list, and was the first to call out the name that caught people's attention. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Shai. Go over there and get the scroll. Anko pointed to a small tent at the entrance. There are staff in the tent who distribute scrolls specially. It seems that this time is a group battle. Naruto led the way. I hope you can cheer up and don't be careless. Cut. Sasuke pursed his lips and said with disdain on his face. Based on these crooked melons and split dates, how could it be my opponent? Don't worry, you don't need to take action, mainly encountering enemies, I will deal with them. Little Sakura was full of excitement. I didn't expect to be able to be in the same group as Naruto-kun. I'm so lucky. After saying that, little Sakura looked back at Ino who was biting the handkerchief reluctantly, sticking out his tongue and making a face. Ino was so angry that he jumped up and down. The three of them took the scroll and walked into the forest. We're the first to come in, do you want to set up some traps? Little Sakura suggested. After all, it is our advantage to come first. Snort. Sasuke snorted coldly and said disdainfully. I'm dignified Uchiha Sasuke, how could I use such indecent means? Just wait and see, no matter who it is, I will defeat it for you, Naruto. Naruto smiled, but didn't answer, because Naruto doubts very much whether anyone will be able to meet them. After all, this forest is now full of dangers, and it is a veritable death forest. When the examinees received the scrolls from the 10 entrances one after another and entered. In the forest of death, a group of people are also ready to go. Wearing animal masks and black outfits, these people look like Anbu. But in reality, they were the root members that Danzo had arranged to come in. Once you meet a candidate, you must not be merciful. The captains of this group of roots glanced at the team members coldly. Our task is to reduce the number of candidates, even if we kill them. Everyone cheer up, candidates will come in soon. Clear. The root members answered in unison. But as soon as the words fell, the group of Anbu immediately turned around cautiously, looking at the dozen or so figures that suddenly appeared on the branch of a tree not far behind them. These people are also wearing animal masks, they are genuine Anbu. Now, one team on the ground and one team on the branches. The two teams stared wide-eyed. The scene fell into silence. What happened? The root team leader was taken aback. Obviously it's not time for candidates to come in yet. Where are these people from? And wearing Anbu's mask, etc. Are these people Anbu? No, not necessarily, maybe it's the enemy's disguise. The root troop captain immediately became alert. After a short silence, it was Captain Anbu who spoke first. Who are you? Captain Anbu was a little dazed. I haven't heard that there are people from other teams besides us? What's going on here? Could it be that Mr. Hokage is worried, so he added another team? The people at the root are also very puzzled. Obviously Master Danzo said, only our team. Why are people here again? Who are you? Root troop captain asked warily. Captain Anbu said as a matter of course we are Anbu. Listen to you, don't you? The root troop captain understood, shook his head and said. We are sent by Lord Danzo. Now, Captain Anbu also understood. Isn't it the root people? What are you trying to do here? Although they are both guardians of Konoha in the dark, Anbu and Genbu belong to different groups, so they don't like each other. Captain Anbu asked with a frown. This is the examination room for the Chunin exam. Root replied. We were ordered by Master Danzo to come here to reduce the number of candidates. Captain Anbu frowned when he heard this. So that's how it is. We acted according to Master Hokage's order, and also reduced the number of candidates. Since we have the same purpose, let's act separately. Apparently Captain Anbu misunderstood, although it is also to reduce the number of candidates. But when the third generation asked Anbu, he asked not to kill anyone. But I don't plan to keep anything from the roots. That's good, so we won't disturb each other's execution. Captain Root nodded, agreeing with the idea. After speaking, the two led their teams to leave. Each selected a few must-pass paths for the candidates, and then ambushed there. As the vanguard, the marching speed of the three Naruto is not fast. The three of them wandered in this perilous death forest, as if they were swimming. Both Naruto and Sasuke have very relaxed expressions. It seems that there is no defense at all. On the other hand, little Sakura seemed a little flustered. Naruto-kun. Is this place dangerous? I've never been here before. Little Sakura clasped her worried hands on her chest. I heard that there are very powerful beasts here. Danger? A wicked smile appeared on Naruto's face. Our group is definitely safe, but I can't guarantee the situation of other groups. Little Sakura tilted her head with a question mark on her face. What does this mean? I don't understand. However, Naruto just smiled mysteriously and didn't explain. Only little Sakura was left with a question mark on her face. I don't know who will be the first lucky one to arrive. Captain Anbu said slightly excitedly. This kind of opportunity to be able to eliminate other ninja village candidates openly can be said to be once in 1,000 years. In the previous Chunin exams, they, Anbu, were only responsible for maintaining law and order. Can't join the formal exam content at all. This opportunity is so rare, Captain Anbu vowed secretly. How many more will be eliminated every day? Captain, someone is coming. At this time, an Anbu who is good at perception whispered. Captain Anbu immediately paid attention. Within 2 minutes, I saw a group of people Shiren walking over. Looking at their leisurely appearance, it doesn't look like they are participating in such an intense and exciting actual combat assessment. It's as pleasant as an outing in the wild. Really relax your vigilance, since that's the case, let me teach you a good lesson. Captain Anbu shook his head secretly, and at the same time he was ready to take action at any time. At this time, Perception Anbu said suddenly. Captain, something seems wrong. It seems to be Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. Captain Anbu's eyes widened immediately, watching carefully. It turns out that the person walking leisurely below is really Naruto. Captain Anbu immediately restrained all his thoughts, the old god said. Since it's Naruto, forget it. If the opponent is Naruto, we are not Naruto's opponent. When Captain Anbu said this, he didn't feel ashamed at all. Other Anbu also nodded sympathetically. Naruto's strength has already been acquiesced by the entire Konoha. Some people even speculate that even third generation is not Naruto's opponent. That's all. Anbu's people silently watched Naruto and the three of them leave leisurely. Not long after Naruto and the others left, another team appeared soon. Captain Anbu immediately cheered up and prepared to make a move. As a result, he felt that Anbu poured a basin of cold water on his head. Captain, that seems to be Captain Nara's son? Captain Anbu took a look and found that it was really Nara Shikamaru, as well as Ino and Choji. The three are the Ino Shika Cho of this year, and Nara Shikamaru is the son of Jonin class leader Nara Shikahisa, who is still very famous in Konoha. And most importantly, the three of Shikamaru and Naruto are in the same class of students. Forget it. This team doesn't care. Captain Anbu waved his hand, feeling a little tired. The rest of Anbu's people don't make sense either. Anyway, if they really fight, they may not be able to beat it. At this time, such a sentence was circulating in Konoha. Don't underestimate Konoha's ninja school students. Because you are probably far from their opponents. The first-year students of ninja school headed by Naruto. Their overall strength has completely surpassed Jonin. Captain Anbu naturally wouldn't make fun of himself. In this way, the three Shikamaru were also released. The Anbu waited patiently. Soon came the third team. However, after a closer look, Captain Anbu still had no choice but to give up. Because the team that came was still a student of Naruto's class. The three who came were Kiba, Hinata and Shino. Hey. You can let me know when you see someone who isn't a ninja school student. Captain Anbu's voice was full of exhaustion. Anyway, we can't beat these kids. The Anbu all looked at each other and smiled wryly. Obviously, those who can enter Anbu are elites. But now they have to admit that they are no match for this group of boys and girls who are only about 7 years old. This world is changing so fast. Everyone is ready, and after finding the target, kill it immediately. When Genbu Ninja said this, there was murderous intent in his eyes. It doesn't matter which ninja village candidate the target is, as long as you see it, you can't let it go. This is the order of Master Danzo. Yes. The root member replied with a low drink. The roots hidden in the shade wait patiently. Not long after, the first team arrived. However, before the roots rushed down, the leader of the root team lied and said in a panic. Stop. Stop. The roots looked at their captain in surprise, not understanding why they suddenly stopped moving. Are you all blind? The root troop captain growled and cursed. Keep your eyes open, that's Uzumaki Naruto. Are you rushing up like this to die? The roots were shocked when they heard it. They looked down and found that the passing team was Uzumaki Naruto, Sasuke and small Sakura. At this moment, they all showed expressions of fear, and cold sweat had soaked their backs unknowingly. If you really rushed down just now, they might have turned into corpses. Fortunately, I stopped it in time. Captain Root breathed a sigh of relief, and then said. After seeing the target, you must confirm it carefully, otherwise no one will be able to save you when the time comes. When the Roots heard what their team leader said, they felt a sudden slander in their hearts. Didn't you tell us to go directly to the target when we saw it? Now let's take a closer look, what you say is right. However, they only dared to whisper in their hearts and dared not speak out. After all, the Root is a very hierarchical place. Contradicting your boss rashly can easily cost you your life. After letting go of Naruto and the others, the Roots soon ushered in the team. The Roots turned their heads to look at their captain, waiting for orders. The Root troop captain looked at it, shook his head decisively and said. No, we can't beat this. The Roots immediately breathed a sigh of relief. They naturally knew that they couldn't fight, and they were afraid that their captain's head would be twitched, so they asked them to charge. So, the Roots let go of the team again. Then I saw the Hinata team, but had no choice but to give up. Then, the Root troop captain had no choice but to issue the same order as Captain Anbu. That is to ignore the students who are in the same class as Naruto. Because I can't beat it. Finally it's our turn. Kankuro said with a full face of complaint. Are we saying that our grades are so bad? We waited for a full 2 hours before it was our turn. I'm really not convinced. If I were to take the test again, my score would definitely be twice as high as it is now. Temari said angrily. Shut up, now is not the time to focus on those things. Don't forget our purpose, first find what Uzumaki Naruto is saying. Gaara was walking in front of the two, showing no interest in the conversation between her sister and big brother behind her. But from Gaara's body, a biting murderous intent continued to radiate. Kankuro and Temari had to move away from Gaara's side little by little. They really couldn't bear the killing intent. Biting cold. Kankuro swallowed and said helplessly. But what if we find Uzumaki Naruto? I don't think we are against Uzumaki Naruto unless... Kankuro glanced at Gaara, and although he didn't finish his sentence, it was very clear. Unless Gaara unleashes the monster in her body. Temari said coldly. You don't need to worry about this, and you don't need to take action anyway. In short, we must first find the target. Swish swish swish. The subtle sound of breaking through the air suddenly caused the two to put on their helmets. Kankuro and Temari jumped away quickly, avoiding the shuriken attacking from the shadows. Only Gaara stood there with her arms around her shoulders without moving, while several kunai were inserted in vain on the absolutely defensive sand shield. It can't hurt Gaara at all. The attackers apparently didn't expect the trick to work either. Who is it? Kankuro shouted, skillfully manipulating the puppet behind him to prepare for the fight. Temari also opened the huge folding fan and focused on guard. At this time, several figures descended from the sky at a very fast speed. Ding. Kankuro's puppet parried the attacker's attack while allowing Kankuro to see the opponent's face. It's Konoha Anbu. What's going on? I haven't heard of such a thing. Temari also blocked the enemy's attack, pushed the enemy away forcefully, and said solemnly. No matter what, they are coming for us anyway, we must deal with them carefully. Anbu, who fell down, was enough to keep people. The two take on Kankuro and Temari separately, and the remaining 4 joined forces to take on Gaara. However, even with the numerical advantage, the 4 Anbu couldn't break through Gaara's absolute defense. Neither hidden weapons nor ninjutsu will work. Instead, both Kankuro and Temari struggled. After all, compared to Gaara, the strength of the two is much worse. It's my turn. Gaara stood silently, and after enduring many attacks with absolute defense, she slowly raised her head, exposing Ling Ran's murderous eyes. Anbu, who attacked, was startled, and a bad premonition suddenly emerged in his heart. The next moment, a large amount of sand began to flow under Gaara's control, winding towards the Anbu's bodies. Sand-bound coffin. Gaara's palms were clasped empty, with a ferocious smile on his face. The Anbu immediately cast the instant body technique and retreated before the sand entangled up. Gaara frowned, and immediately controlled the sand to sweep away. But the Anbu didn't take it hard. When they found out that they were not their opponents, the Anbu retreated decisively, leaving only Gaara in place. Captain Anbu looked at Gaara secretly. As expected of Sanagakure's Jinchuriki, the pressure and killing intent are really beyond imagination. Even though he is about the same age as Naruto, I didn't expect to have such strength. However, compared with Naruto, it is still too far behind. Captain Anbu shook his head, then said to his subordinates. This goal is a bit tricky, so we give up for now and continue to look for other goals. Yes. The Anbu answered in unison. Between several ups and downs, there is no trace. Damn it. What is Konoha's Anbu going to do? Kankuro gritted his teeth and clasped his left arm with his right hand. It was dripping with blood, obviously injured. Although Gaara seems to be able to do it with ease, it is clear that Kankuro and Temari cannot do it. In the face of Anbu ninjas stronger than themselves, they have almost no power to fight back. It seems that this should be the hidden content of this exam. W. Unlike Kankuro's anger, Temari seemed much calmer. I wonder if the content of the second assessment is a bit simple. After all, compared with the first assessment, it only collects 2 different scrolls and the difficulty is not too great. In short, we must remain vigilant, and once we see that someone's state is not right, then stay away. As Temari said, he gave Kanro a blast. Kankuro looked around vigilantly, in case those Anbu suddenly turned around. Fortunately, Anbu did not appear again. However, Kankuro felt a more icy feeling. Gaara in front of them was exuding a killing intent. It makes people feel creepy at a glance. Kankuro stiffened his neck, looked at Gaara slowly, and said in fear. It's all right, Gaara. The enemies have all been taken care of by us. You must control yourself. Kankuro lied. They didn't kill an Anbu at all. Seeing that the situation was not looking good, the Anbus had already retreated quickly. The reason why Kankuro said this is to bring down the tea garden that I love Luo Tang. Otherwise, even if they are Gaara's big brother and sister, they will die. Sudden. Gaara turned her head abruptly, and the pupils of the thick black circles were densely covered with silk. Killing intent. Temari and Kankuro felt a chill in their hearts, subconsciously becoming alert. Gaara, however, moved faster. As Gaara stretched out his right hand, the sand all over the sky rushed over at an extremely fast speed. It's over. Temari and Kankuro had fear in their eyes. Facing the crushing strength of Gaara, they have nothing to do. However, the sand passed them and quickly rushed behind them. The two turned their heads belatedly, only to see a few candidates from Shounen village appearing behind them at some point. The candidates' eyes were full of horror, and they were caught in the sand of Gaara in the blink of an eye and could not escape. Seeing the prey being caught, a cruel smile appeared on Gaara's face. Sandstorm funeral. With Gaara's hands pinching vigorously, the sand immediately crushed the 3 unlucky eggs into a pile of minced meat. Ah! The 3 of them only had time to let out a short scream before they died. Temari and Kankuro turned their heads back in fear, looking at Gaara who had calmed down, filled with joy in their hearts. If it weren't for this group of unlucky ghosts who suddenly appeared, I'm afraid it would be the 2 of them who were buried. 13 seems to be more careful. Kankuro breathed a sigh of relief and quickly changed the subject. Konoha actually sent Anbu to carry out a sneak attack. Although I don't know if they will kill us, we must be careful in everything. After all, this is Konoha's territory, and in such a large forest, even if they are killed by those Anbu, they still have enough strength to pretend to be someone else. Although Kankuro wanted to divert Gaara's attention, what he said was very reasonable. Temari nodded sullenly. Gaara, remember to control yourself. If you expose yourself before you meet Naruto, you will only waste the opportunity. Gaara just glanced at Temari, then walked forward without saying a word. Kankuro suddenly remembered and went back to the corpses of the 3 hapless ones. I'll see what their scrolls are. After rummaging for a while, Kankuro lifted up a scroll happily and said. It happens to be different from our scrolls, so you don't need to look for scrolls anymore. Then just focus on finding Naruto's whereabouts. Temari said after taking the scroll from Kankuro and putting it in his chest. Indeed, even if there is no chance in the future, there will definitely be a chance after the promotion. The 2 looked up and found that Gaara had already gone a long way. Jong-en sighed and hurriedly followed. Somewhere in the dark corner of the dead forest. After gathering all his subordinates in a unique way, Yin Snake said excitedly. The Forest of Death is really a perfect venue. No matter what I do inside, no one outside will find out. This is a great opportunity. I must get Naruto's body. Afterwards, Orochimaru looked at the 5 members of Atonin, as well as the trio of Atonin and Atonin Genin, and ordered. Next, we must find Naruto's location as quickly as possible, otherwise the longer the time delays, the higher the possibility of our exposure. Before Konoha reacts, Naruto must be caught. Yes. Lord Orochimaru, everyone answered in unison. At this time, Do supported the iframe, and said with an inexplicable smile at the corner of his mouth. Master Orochimaru, we seem to have met some guests. As he spoke, he turned around and looked at a big tree not far away. Everyone turned their heads to look over. Behind the big tree, the 3 genin of Sanagakure held their breath, their faces covered with cold sweat. They seemed to have discovered a great secret. Konoha and Atonin village seem to have some terrible plans. Although I haven't heard much, it is very suspicious that the genin of these 2 villages gathered together but did not fight. And it also has an absolute advantage in numbers. The genins of Sanagakure don't feel like they are rivals for each other. I just hope that my whereabouts will not be discovered. However, what he said dispelled the joy in the hearts of the 3. Escape. The 3 of them looked at each other with only one thought. So, the 3 of them acted immediately. However, other people's movements are obviously much faster than theirs. With a gentle smile on his face, Do said. Where do you want to go? Why don't you talk to us first? For example, did you hear the words just now? Kidomaru didn't talk nonsense, and directly drilled a bone blade from the palm of his hand, hacking a genin to death. Kill them without worrying about exposure, Kidomaru said so. Zuo Jin licked his tongue and said, it makes sense. It is undoubtedly very good news for people like them to be able to kill. If it weren't for Orochimaru, they would have already started killing. The 3 poor Sanagakure genins were killed by the Atonin 5 almost in the blink of an eye. Orochimaru didn't even look at the 3 unlucky ones, and said casually. Kidomaru, you bring someone in charge of the east side. Do, your team is in charge of the west. Toss, you are in charge of the south. Remember not to expose Naruto after you find it. It is impossible for you to defeat Naruto. Be sure to tell me the news about Naruto as quickly as possible, have you heard? Everyone nodded. just about to answer. All of them stared at each other, and suddenly left the place. In the next moment, a large number of shurikens and kunai were stuck on the ground. If they were a second late, they might be turned into hedgehogs. Orochimaru frowned. Being disturbed one after another obviously made Orochi very unhappy. But when Orochimaru looked up, his eyes widened. Anbu. Why is Anbu here? Has my identity been exposed? He looked down at his disguise. No. But no matter what, it is a fact that these Anbu are attacking them. Wait. These guys are really Anbu. Dodging these Anbu attacks, Orochimaru quickly realized something was wrong. Anbu's people shouldn't just attack like this regardless, right? This style of acting feels more like roots. Could it be Danzo? Deep doubts arose in Orochimaru's mind. But no matter what, since he dared to attack them and saw Do talking to them, he couldn't let these roots leave alive. Not one left. Orochimaru said coldly. The 5 Atonin listened together, except for Kidomaru who was expressionless. The other 4 showed cruel smiles. Do had a headache. Like Orochimaru, he also thought that his identity might be exposed. So, these root people cannot be let go. But in fact, both Orochimaru and Do misunderstood. The person who attacked was indeed root, but the reason for the attack was because of Danzo's order. Reduce the number of candidates. So the root is just faithfully fulfilling Danzo's order, and killing the candidates he sees, to achieve the purpose of reduction. As for what the candidates were doing before, or even whether the candidates were from Konoha, they didn't care. As long as they can complete the task, even if they sacrifice themselves, they will not hesitate. As the roots carefully selected and cultivated by Danzo, it is not very good in terms of strength. But in the face of Orochimaru and the 5 Atonin who can transform into 2 stages, they are still somewhat powerless. The battle broke out quickly, but it also ended very quickly. After Kidomaru killed 1 root, the others immediately retreated without hesitation. What happened? Orochimaru looked at the roots that disappeared in an instant and frowned. Escape directly? This is different from Root's approach. Is my identity really exposed? Are they trying to get the word out? No. Orochimaru's eyes turned cold. Follow me. 150 people immediately chased after him. However, the speed at which the roots left was too fast, and the direction in which the roots left deviated from what the big snake had expected. Orochimaru thought the roots were leaving the dead forest. So the direction of pursuit is towards the periphery of the death forest. However, the roots just turned a corner and went to find other candidates. Roots gave up Orochimaru them, but that doesn't mean they gave up the mission. Their task is to reduce the number of candidates, not to eliminate them all. If you encounter someone you can't beat, run away and change your target. Then, Orochimaru and his men did not catch up to the root without any surprise. But perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. After a short chase, Orochimaru had an unexpected harvest. Master Orochimaru. Spot the target. Do was the first to spot Naruto and immediately alerted Orochimaru. However, Do only said the target, and the big snake suddenly misunderstood. If you find it, kill it, Orochimaru said grimly. Killed? Do was dumbfounded. Alright, Master Orochimaru, aren't you going to take the target's body? Orochimaru was taken aback and looked back at you. You mean Naruto? Not the root? Do Linlian nodded, pointed to the leisurely Naruto trio below and said. Isn't our goal Naruto? Orochimaru was in a hurry, but what he said was right, it was just that Orochimaru understood it wrong. After all, he was chasing after the root just now. But being able to find Naruto so quickly was also a surprise. You wait here, I will meet him. Orochimaru looked down at Naruto, who was unaware below, with surprise in his eyes. My strength is very different from before, and I will definitely be able to catch him this time. Kidomaru asked with a frown. My lord, please let me open the way for you. Orochimaru glared at Kidomaru instantly. I said, wait for me here. Kidomaru backed down with his head down, and the others were also silent, not daring to speak. It's really quiet. Little Sakura sighed. Naruto suddenly looked at little Sakura in surprise. Can't you hear those voices in the distance? The low roaring sound continued to come, which represented that the competition for the scroll had entered a fierce stage from the beginning. Little Sakura stuck out her tongue cutely and said with a smile. I mean our side, it's so lively over there, but we can't even see a single person here. Sasuke snorted coldly, crossed his arms and said. Because those people are cowards, they dare not go up when they see us from a distance. A bunch of gutsless guys. Naruto smiled, and the general situation was the same as what Sasuke said. Under Naruto's observation haki, a lot of squads have seen them, but they are far away and go around. Don't dare to appear in front of Naruto and the others. Of course, it's more because Anbu and the root people work very hard. Weak teams are eliminated at a rapid pace. It was okay to meet Anbu, but none of the team that met root survived. Of course, only the teams that can beat at the root. Besides Anbu and root, other teams are also fighting for the scroll. Therefore, at the beginning of the second exam, it has already entered a white-hot stage. Judging from the current situation, it is unknown how many people will be left after the exam is over in 7 days. Wouldn't it be nice to be clean? Naruto said with a smile. However, the current exam is not difficult at all. It is better to find another scroll as soon as possible, and then go to the abandoned sentry tower and wait for the exam to end. There's no need to waste time here, Sasuke pouted and said. It's all a bunch of crap, no challenge. Then, Sasuke's eyes fell on Naruto. In my eyes, only you are my opponent, Naruto smiled. It's really an honor for me. Then, Naruto turned his head and looked to the right. There, at some point, a woman wearing a bamboo hat appeared. Behind the woman in the bamboo hat is a huge Shimanowa. The woman raised her head slightly, revealing her forehead protector, which was a blind forbearance protector. Looks like we finally have guests, Naruto said. This woman is obviously a big snake in disguise. Naruto naturally recognized it. I leave it to you, this kind of guy is not worth my shot. Sasuke looked disinterested, completely ignoring the existence of Orochimaru, and only had Naruto in his eyes. Naruto smiled slightly and said, "Leave it to me then, it looks like she's after me too." Little Sakura said with some concern, "Naruto-kun, please be careful." Sakura is very confident in Naruto's strength, but the gloomy woman on the opposite side doesn't look too easy to mess with. For the safety of the person he likes, Shaolo began to worry subconsciously. Orochimaru walked slowly, and the voice came out, not his hoarse voice, but a low and feminine female voice. "It's your misfortune to meet me here. I'm not interested in the scrolls you hold in your hands, what I'm interested in is you." After Orochimaru finished speaking, he jumped up suddenly, his body was as soft as a snake, and quickly came to Naruto. With a light jump, Sasuke retreated more than 10 meters, giving the battlefield to Naruto. Although the little Sakura was worried, she didn't bother Naruto and retreated with Sasuke. Naruto looked at Orochimaru who appeared in front of him, with a faint smile on his face. "Although I don't like hitting women, it's okay to hit a pervert." Orochimaru smiled lightly. "That also requires you to be able to beat me." As he said that, Orochimaru's body suddenly elongated, like a real snake, encircling Naruto. Then, Orochimaru opened his mouth excitedly, and the sharp teeth in his mouth were about to bite on Naruto's shoulder. As long as it bites, Orochimaru can plant the curse seal, and then he can take the opportunity to affect Naruto and greatly weaken Naruto's power. So Naruto is in the palm of Orochimaru's hands. However, Orochimaru's calculations worked out well. But Naruto also needs to cooperate. Naruto naturally wouldn't let Orochimaru actually hurt himself. Originally, Naruto also expected whether Orochimaru would improve after returning. As a result, he came here this time, and he was still alone. And what disappointed Naruto the most was that Yinji didn't even use Impure World Reincarnation. He actually tried to use such a simple and rude method to control himself. Naruto was very disappointed by this. Originally, I expected Orochimaru to be able to Impure World Reincarnation to produce first generation and second generation, so as to quickly compare my own strength. This is the result. That being the case, Naruto has no intention of wasting time with Orochimaru. Just when Orochimaru's fangs were about to touch Naruto's skin. With a whoosh, Naruto broke away from Orochimaru's shackles with a body flicker technique. Orochimaru missed a hit, but was not discouraged. If Naruto was cursed so easily, it would make Orochimaru suspicious. After all, Orochimaru is very clear about Naruto's strength. After all, the 15 consecutive days of non-stop surveillance during the Spring Festival is still very unforgettable. It's fast. As Orochimaru spoke, his body returned to normal. Watching Naruto escape, there is no intention of chasing him. Just as Naruto stood still, suddenly his feet shook, and a huge tongue popped out. The giant snake opened its mouth wide and swallowed Naruto in one bite. "Caught it!" Orochimaru shouted excitedly. "Oh? Got it? Let me see." An interested voice came from behind, and Orochimaru's body froze instantly. Orochimaru turned his head slowly, and saw Naruto appear in front of him at some point. And, a rapidly expanding Rasengan. Almost in the blink of an eye, the fist-sized Rasengan rapidly swelled to a diameter of 5 meters. At this extremely close distance, Yin Snake didn't even have time to escape. Boom. There was a loud noise, and a mushroom cloud floated up. Naruto returned to Sasuke, and little Sakura in an instant, clapped his hands and said, "Okay, problem solved, let's go." Snort. Sasuke snorted coldly, turned around and left without saying anything. Little Sakura looked at Naruto adoringly. As expected of Mr. Naruto, the speed of body flicker technique is fast. It actually ran behind the enemy in an instant, and even created a clone to attract the enemy's attention. Naruto-kun is amazing. Naruto smiled and said, "This battle is not worth mentioning, let's go first. Since this man dares to come out alone, he probably doesn't have a scroll on him. So don't waste your time." The three left slowly. As if he didn't care about what just happened. But on the big tree not far away, Do and the others couldn't help swallowing. The battle is over too soon. Faster than they imagined. The invincible Orochimaru in their impression was defeated in just 3 or 2 strokes. Uzumaki Naruto, so scary, Master Orochimaru. Duoyo let out a scream, which woke up the others immediately. Then they remembered that they should go down and save Orochimaru. However, before they could go down, a somewhat weak figure climbed up. "I'm fine." When everyone turned their heads, they saw Orochimaru with a weak face and some mucus all over his body, which looked very disgusting. This is Orochimaru's unique Orochimaru body replacement technique. It is possible to leave all the damage on the slough left outside by a method like a snake shedding its skin, so as to ensure that I will not be injured. Although it will consume a lot of chakra, it can restore the injury at once. That's why Orochimaru went down alone without fear. Lord Orochimaru. Everyone was relieved to see that Orochimaru was safe and sound. But the scene they just saw was deeply engraved in their minds. This was the first time they actually saw Naruto make a move. Although they have heard of Naruto's victory over Orochimaru, and they also personally treated Dojang's injuries. But there is a lack of cognition on the screen. So, just seeing with their own eyes that Naruto easily defeated the invincible Orochimaru in their hearts suddenly collapsed the image of Orochimaru in their hearts. Although still respectful, even fearful, but it was slightly different from before. "Master Orochimaru, what should we do now?" Zuo Jin lowered his head and asked. "Uzumaki Naruto's strength is really too strong. I'm afraid that all of us joining forces may not necessarily be his opponent." Taiyu also said in disbelief. "Even Lord Orochimaru is no match for us, we're just going to die." Jirobo spoke quickly. "Master Orochimaru, do you want to withdraw?" Snapped. Kidomaru slapped Jirobo on the head. "Don't talk if you can't speak. Is Orochimaru-sama the one who escaped?" Snapped. Kimimaro slapped Kidomaru on the head. "The same as you." Pushing his glasses, he said. "Master Orochimaru, the current situation is clearly not suitable for further action. I'm afraid, Master Orochimaru's identity has already been discovered by Naruto." Orochimaru said with a twinkle in his eyes. "Maybe, but I'm not reconciled." Looking at the Naruto 3 leaving in the distance, Orochimaru's eyes were full of unwillingness. Obviously such a powerful body, as long as you hold it in your hands, it will definitely play a vital role in Orochimaru's research on immortality. Pity. But the strength really can't keep up. Obviously there are still so many backers. But before Orochimaru came out of the actual battle, Naruto easily and neatly solved it. Orochimaru had to admit that his strength was far, far behind Naruto. In that case, Do lowered his head slightly, staring and hiding under the reflective lenses. "Why don't we change our target? That Uchiha Sasuke, I heard that his strength is also very good, and he is known as the strongest genius in this generation of the Uchiha clan." When Orochimaru heard this, his eyes turned slightly to look at Sasuke. "Uchiha, Sharingan. Min. After pondering slightly, he said. "If that's the case, then I can't leave empty-handed." Though determined, change the target to Uchiha Sasuke. But Orochimaru couldn't jump in right away. The Orochimaru body replacement technique can restore Orochimaru to an unscathed state, but it consumes a lot of chakra. After all, Orochimaru needs to rest for a while. After Orochimaru's state was restored, it was already a few hours later. The sky gradually dimmed. The sound of battles coming from everywhere showed the excitement of this exam. "Who's following the target now?" After Orochimaru recovered, he immediately asked Kimimaro who was guarding him. Kimimaro said immediately, "It's Do looking at the target, Lord Orochimaru." Orochimaru nodded and said, "Then let's go quickly. Let Zaken and the others get ready, and don't let Naruto interfere with my battle." Kimimaro nodded. Yes, because of the snake. The two chased along the mark left by the bag, and at full speed, they soon caught up with the 3 of Naruto who were staying in an open space. After Orochimaru saw it, he moved his eyes from Naruto to Sasuke rather reluctantly. How is it going? I wish I could smell blood. Pocket said in a low voice. Naruto and the others just went through a battle. A group of ninjas from Shounen Village wanted to challenge Naruto, but they were easily defeated. Now that Naruto and the others have obtained the second scroll, it is not sure if it is different from the one they have. But judging by the direction they're going, they probably hit the mark to get the job done. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed. Doesn't that mean we don't have much chance? Since that's the case, let's start preparing immediately. Orochimaru looked towards them and said with a serious face. Preparing for action, we must limit the target as soon as possible, and we must not let Naruto interfere with us. Zuo Jin swallowed, his heart full of tension. Although he felt that his task was too heavy, Zuo Jin still did not dare to resist the big snake. Yes, Master Orochimaru. Hyuga, Kidomaru and Jirobo nodded solemnly, indicating that they were ready. Then, because he turned his eyes to his body. I'll leave it to you to lure Naruto away, Koto. Do nodded expressionlessly and said. Please feel free to leave it to me, because snakes are like people. Orochimaru nodded, then spoke softly. 3, 2, 1, move. Swish. Everyone on the branch disappeared instantly. The next moment, Orochimaru led a group of people and surrounded the three of Naruto in the open space. However, Naruto and the others did not look surprised at all, as if they had expected the appearance of Orochimaru and others. They appeared very calm. Naruto even turned to Sasuke and said, "This time you lost." Sasuke made a cut. Reluctantly, he took out a 100 tael bill. The two bet again whether the next person who meets them will dare to appear in front of them. Sasuke dared not bet, Naruto dared to bet. Then Orochimaru and they appeared. Naturally, Sasuke lost. After losing to Naruto, Sasuke's mood immediately became bad. Especially the consecutive losses to Naruto made Sasuke even more unhappy. The previous pair of teams didn't use Naruto's shot, but Sasuke solved it neatly with 3 or 2 hits. Everyone has a negative state of lifelong comminuted fracture. Now Sasuke is even more angry, looking at Orochimaru and their eyes very impatiently. I don't care where you guys come from, but if you dare to let me lose to Naruto, then be mentally prepared. If you don't break your legs, you can never leave here. After saying that, the figure flashed, and body flicker technique rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, he came before Orochimaru. When Orochimaru saw Sasuke who took the initiative to send it up, he was overjoyed immediately. It's now. Orochimaru blocked Sasuke's attack with a roar. Zuo Jin and they rushed over immediately. 4 purple flame formation, x4. The 4 people around shouted in unison, quickly formed seals with their hands, and then patted the ground. Immediately, the 4th person acted as a point, and set up a rectangular Z in space, isolating the inside from the outside. Sasuke frowned and stopped attacking, looking at the strange purple flame barrier. Sasuke could feel that this barrier gave him a very dangerous feeling. Sasuke has not experienced this feeling for a long time. Little Sakura saw Sasuke trapped by the enemy and said worriedly. Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun is in danger, aren't we going to help him? Naruto shook his head with a smile and said. Don't worry, Sasuke's strength is not something they can beat. We'll just watch from the sidelines. Also, don't touch the wall of Zeon, it's a powerful sealing technique. Any approaching target will be burned by Zeon, or even burned to death. When the little Sakura heard it, she shuddered and hid behind Naruto. Then Naruto-kun, you have to protect me. Naruto smiled. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Saying that, Naruto crossed his arms and didn't look at Kidomaru and the others, but looked at Orochimaru and Sasuke who were trapped in the 4 purple flames. Of course, the current Orochimaru is still the disguise of that strange woman, and Orochimaru's real body has not been revealed. When little Sakura heard what Naruto said, she felt relieved. But little Sakura glanced warily at Kidomaru, who was standing aside, and went around them in disguise. Sasuke looked at the 4 people on the left who were maintaining the 4 purple flames, and turned his eyes into Sharingan. Sasuke immediately found that the 4 people around him were continuously outputting chakra to maintain the 4 purple flames. In other words, the 4 people on the left cannot move, and once they move the 4 purple flame formations, they will be cancelled by. So, Sasuke only needs to face Orochimaru on the opposite side. But Sasuke didn't feel relaxed, but felt humiliated by the contempt. You bastard. Sasuke growled with anger in his eyes. Do you think you can defeat me by yourself? How dare you underestimate me? Orochimaru smiled slightly and said. I still attach great importance to you, Uchiha Sasuke-kun. After Naruto, you are my second choice, it's your honor. As he spoke, he stuck out his tongue and licked his lips disgustingly. Outside CZN's formation, Kidomaru stared at Naruto closely, in case Naruto made a move to block him. Although there are 4 purple flame formations, who knows if Naruto can break the 4 purple flame formations? After all, how many shocking things has Naruto done before? Kabuki's eyes flicked back and forth between Naruto and CZN. It seems casual, but the heart is already on the highest alert. Sasuke was full of fighting spirit and rushed over first. A body flicker technique, just behind Orochimaru. The kunai in his hand drew a white light, but Orochimaru dodged it with a strange snake-like figure. But Sasuke had expected this. After all, he had seen the battle between Naruto and Orochimaru before, and knew about Orochimaru's strange body. Seeing that Orochimaru dodged the attack, Sasuke immediately performed the body flicker technique again and came to the side of Orochimaru before the action of Sasuke's attack was over. Then, he kicked Orochimaru in the face, and kicked Orochimaru out. Caught off guard, Orochimaru was kicked and flew more than 10 meters away. Fortunately, the space in the 4 Zeon formation was large enough, otherwise Orochimaru would have hit the Zeon wall directly. But next to the heavy foot, Orochimaru got up as if nothing happened. In terms of resistance to beating, Orochimaru is indeed unique. As expected of the person I'm fancying, to have such a fast speed. Excitedly, Orochimaru stretched out the snake letter like a snake, but saw something wrong with Sasuke's expression on the opposite side. It turned out that Sasuke's kick just now directly broke Orochimaru's disguise. At this time, Orochimaru's face was covered with camouflage human skin, looking very hideous and terrifying. "Who are you?" Sasuke said with a frown. Pretending to sneak into the Chunin exam venue, no matter how you look at it, this person has malicious intentions. Only then did Orochimaru realize that his disguise had been broken. Immediately, Orochimaru stopped pretending and let the human skin mask droop on his face, but his voice returned to its original appearance. "I didn't expect to be exposed, but it doesn't matter, as long as you are taken away. That's how I achieved my goal." Sasuke listened carefully to Orochimaru's voice, and it sounded very familiar. "But can't remember where I heard it." Instead, the little Sakura outside heard Orochimaru's voice and exclaimed. "It's Orochimaru. Naruto-kun, don't we really need help?" Naruto shook his head and said. "Don't worry, even facing Orochimaru, Sasuke's strength is enough to deal with it. Also, Sasuke is a very proud person, what he hates the most is losing to others. So, if I offered to help, Sasuke would not only not appreciate it, but would also dislike me for being nosy. Since I know Sasuke will be fine, there is no need to make trouble for myself." The little Sakura nodded ignorantly, seeing Naruto's calmness, the anxious state of mind just now also calmed down. In the Scythian formation, after hearing the little Sakura's scream, Sasuke also recognized the identity of the big snake. "It turned out to be you. I didn't expect you to sneak into Konoha village secretly, and where did your subordinates come from?" Sasuke looked at the 4 people on the left who maintained the 4 purple flames, and then looked at Kidomaru and the others outside. "Forget it. Anyway, it has nothing to do with me, as long as I beat you here. And, I must beat you. Naruto has defeated you, how could I lose to you?" Sasuke yelled in his heart, and rushed over the evidence again. Orochimaru jerked his arm out. Hulker with many snake hands. A large number of lion majesties suddenly appeared from the wide cuffs, attacking towards Sasuke. But Sasuke didn't care, and there was a very familiar light in Orochimaru's hands. "It's Rasengan." Orochimaru's glasses widened suddenly. "How could you?" Sasuke didn't pay attention to Orochimaru, and still rushed forward unswervingly. The right hand is held open behind the back and in the palm is a Rasengan that is quickly congealed. At this moment, Orochimaru's eyes are all on that Rasengan. Already twice. Number of times Orochimaru was defeated by Rasengan. The first 2 times were done by Naruto. Cause Orochimaru now sees Rasengan a little sensitive. But seeing that Sasuke's Rasengan was only the size of a fist, he immediately felt relieved. "Your Rasengan is too weak. Compared to Naruto, there is no comparison." A smile formed on the corner of Sasuke's mouth. "Really? Then keep your eyes open." The voice fell, and the Rasengan in his hand expanded at an extremely fast speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, it became several meters in diameter. Sasuke suddenly pulled his right hand in front of him, placing the huge Rasengan in front of him. The lion majesty released by Orochimaru was instantly smashed to pieces. And Sasuke's castration continued unabated, and he rushed straight towards the dumbfounded Orochimaru. Boom. Rasengan hit Orochimaru's body firmly, making a loud roar. A familiar mushroom cloud rises from the ground. Master Orochimaru! Kidomaru screamed, and the others swallowed hard. It was too unacceptable to see what was happening in front of my eyes. Orochimaru, who they thought was invincible, was defeated by Naruto and Sasuke today. And still in the same way, still reacted quickly and yelled immediately. Get rid of the 4 purple flame formation. The sluggish Zuojin 4 people immediately came back to their senses, quickly cut off the 4 Zeon formations, and the Zeon wall slowly disappeared. The mushroom cloud dissipated little by little, revealing Orochimaru's body. At this time, Orochimaru fell to the ground in dilapidated condition, his long hair covered his face, as if he was too rich. Lying on the ground motionless, Kidomaru immediately came to Orochimaru's side, stretched out his arms to hug Orochimaru, and then ran away immediately. The others followed closely behind, and only Kabuki stayed behind to keep an eye on Naruto and Sasuke in case the two pursued them. But neither Naruto nor Sasuke are interested in it. It's just a defeated general, and it seems a bit tasteless to kill them all. Since Orochimaru is alive and not dead, it is worthy. After Kabuya retreated, Naruto came to Sasuke. Naruto smiled and clapped his hands in congratulations. Congratulations, now you are also the ninja who defeated the legendary Sannin. Sasuke snorted coldly, looked away from Orochimaru and the others, and said on Naruto's face. After all, there is no reason why I can't do what you can do. You'd better keep running forward, otherwise, if there is any slack, I will catch up with you immediately. Little Sakura said with a smile. Since it's all right, let's change to another place. I thought this place was empty before, but we encountered 2 attacks in succession. Let's find a quieter place. Naruto shrugged and said. I don't mind. Why don't we go directly to the abandoned tower and complete the task directly? I think we should be the first team to complete the task. Sasuke snorted coldly. It doesn't matter, anyway, there are some weak guys in this forest, which doesn't arouse my interest at all. Snapped. Naruto clapped his hands together and said with a smile. Then let's go, if you are fast, you can arrive before dinner. Okay. Let me down. Orochimaru's weak voice reached Kidomaru's ears. Kidomaru stopped immediately, and then carefully put Orochimaru down. Afterwards, Orochimaru used the serpent flow body replacement technique again, and crawled out of his body. However, compared to last time, this time it was even more embarrassing. After climbing out, Orochimaru even fell to the ground, looking exhausted. Others rushed over one after another. They gathered around Orochimaru, with the indelible shock still on their faces. The result just now is really unacceptable to them. It's okay to lose to Naruto, but he has already lost once before. Even if they are shocked, it is not unacceptable. But this time, Uchiha Sasuke, who seemed inconspicuous, defeated Orochimaru, who was the strongest in their hearts, so simply and neatly. It directly overturned their 3 views, Do said helplessly. Master Orochimaru, what shall we do next? Now, Master Orochimaru, your identity has been exposed. If you continue to stay, it may be dangerous. Kidomaru also advised. Master Orochimaru, why not retreat for now, and look for opportunities after you recover? The others watched silently, they were still digesting the shocking situation they had just seen. At this moment, I didn't know what to say at all. Orochimaru coughed weakly twice, and then said. Don't worry, wait for me to wash and recover. Sitting down with difficulty leaning against the tree trunk, Orochimaru slowly adjusted his hard breathing. After breathing evenly, the pain in the body gradually eased a lot. Unexpectedly, even Uchiha Sasuke has such strong strength. Rasengan's power is almost indistinguishable from Naruto's. Cough cough cough. After coughing a few times, Yinji slowed down and said. Wait for a while, wait until tomorrow. Anyway, the whole exam will last for 7 days. Waiting patiently, you will definitely find the next opportunity. However, Jin too, who secretly followed Naruto, came back to report soon. Naruto and the others have already entered the abandoned watchtower, so they should have completed their mission. Hearing this, Yin Snake was dumbfounded. Now it's all right. The target is gone. What should they do now? There are only 2 options before Orochimaru. One is to retreat immediately, before Anbu sends people to catch them. The second is to continue to take the Chunin exam, betting on Naruto that they did not tell Anbu or the guards about Orochimaru's identity. That way they can stay on, and maybe find an opportunity. While the odds are slim, Orochimaru is willing to take the gamble. Anyway, Konoha Anbu's strength Orochimaru is very clear, just a few Anbus can't be their opponents. Let's hide and observe the situation first. If Anbu is looking for us specifically, then we will retreat. If not, then attend as usual. Orochimaru made a quick decision. Then, the group found a hidden place for Orochimaru to rest. The three-person group is responsible for guarding. The Atonin 5 people accompanied Orochimaru as guards. Duoyu couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I didn't expect Konoha's little ghost to be so powerful. Is every kid in Konoha so powerful? Zuo Jin rolled his eyes. How is it possible? If Konoha has such strength, there is no distinction between the 5 major kingdoms. The Kingdom of Fire may have ruled the entire ninja long ago. Kidomaru put his head in his hands and said as he leaned against the rock. Anyway, the strength of those 2 brats is too terrifying. He looked at Orochimaru with his eyes closed and lowered his voice. I really didn't expect that even Lord Orochimaru couldn't beat him. Jirobo asked curiously. Are there a lot of brats who participated in the Chunin exam this time? Although I didn't count them in detail, it seems that there are nearly 100 people. Are they all so powerful? Recently, he repeatedly waved his hands and said. Impossible, impossible. If they are as good as Naruto and Sasuke, it would be an exaggeration. Kimimaro whispered. Keep your voice down, don't disturb Lord Orochimaru. Zuo Jin and the others immediately fell silent and stopped talking. But the doubts in my heart did not ease, at this time. Orochimaru closed his eyes and said. Uchiha Sasuke has such a strong strength, I am afraid it has a lot to do with Naruto. And those teenagers and girls are all classmates from Naruto's class, and they all learn physically from Naruto. The strength must be much stronger than ordinary children. Ahem. Kimimaro hurried forward and patted Orochimaru on the back. Master Orochimaru, please don't force yourself. Orochimaru raised his head to stop Kimimaro, opened his eyes and said. I'm fine, I've recovered a lot. Orochimaru coughed twice again, but his complexion became better than before. But in Orochimaru's eyes, there was a hint of thoughtfulness. If the potential of those children is also developed by Naruto. I can't believe it, all of them will be like Sasuke. Orochimaru secretly made a decision, but these 2 words made the Atonin 5 puzzled, wondering what Orochimaru was talking about. In fact, Orochimaru still didn't give up. Now, neither Naruto nor Sasuke can count on it. Orochimaru could only retreat again and again, looking for the next target. As for the target candidates, naturally they cannot be ordinary people. Soon, 2 suitable candidates came to Orochimaru's mind. The Hyuga clan with white eyes. Hyuga Hinata and Hyuga Neji. When meeting any one of these 2 people, Orochimaru will not hesitate to make a move. After all, they are the 2 giants of Konoha, and Baian is one of the 3 pupil techniques, so the snake is naturally very interested. I just don't know if I can meet it. At this time, it seemed that it was approaching night. The sound of battles coming from everywhere gradually decreased. But Orochimaru and others did not relax their vigilance, but redoubled their vigilance. Ninja itself is a profession that acts in the dark, and darkness is the best protective color for ninjas. A fatal blow drilled in the dark is what ninjas should do. Instead of colliding with the enemy head-on like a samurai. After a night of rest, Orochimaru quickly recovered the consumed chakra. Let's do it, I'm a member of the Hyuga clan. Orochimaru said to his subordinates. Although the Death Forest is chaotic at this time, Orochimaru still has certain confidence in the strength of his subordinates. And just let them find someone, as long as they are careful, basically nothing will happen. Yes. Lord Orochimaru. Everyone obeyed, and after responding in a low voice, the figure disappeared without a trace. Orochimaru was left alone. Whoosh! There was a sharp piercing sound, and the sharp kunai cut across the air, and also across a handsome face. Blue veins protruded from both sides of the eyes on the face, and the white pupils carried a breathtaking deterrent force. Dodging the enemy's attack lightly, Hyuga Neji said casually. If you think our age is going to be your advantage, you're naive. Behind Neji, Tien Tien and Xiao Li were full of vigilance. In front of them are 3 cloud shinobi ninjas. But what is unusual is that, through Neji's supercilious observation, the amount of chakra of these 3 people far exceeds the level that ordinary genin can have. In other words, something is wrong with these 3 people. At first I thought it was Anbu, the invigilator in the village, but I didn't expect you people to be mixed into this Chunin exam. Neji's complexion is very dignified. Although he is still young, Neji's thinking is very mature. Such is the character. It seems that you, Cloud Shinobi Village, participated in this Chunin exam for an ulterior purpose. The 3 disguised Cloud Shinobi looked at each other, and they all saw the murderous intent in each other's eyes. Now that the white-eyed boy in front of them saw their purpose, they couldn't let Neji leave here alive. They drew hidden weapons such as kunai shuriken one after another, ready to attack at any time. On the contrary, the 3 of Neji, although alert, did not take out any weapons, even the hidden weapon master Tien Tien. Xiao Li even asked curiously. Neji, did you guess that their target is Wei? Before Neji could answer, Tianqian rolled his eyes and said. Who in this Chunin exam is worthy of such a fight? Of course it's Naruto, Xiao Li suddenly said. I see. Then Xiao Li's face suddenly became solemn, with one hand behind his back, and the other hand forward to make a gesture similar to invitation. Then we must not let them trouble Naruto-kun. The leader of Cloud Shinobi said with a sneer. I admit that you may have some strength and be able to see through our disguise. But you are not Naruto. Even if you are better than your peers, you cannot be the opponents of our experienced Jonin. When it comes to fighting, you are still far behind. As he spoke, the leader, Cloud Shinobi, let out a sneer, and a look of cruelty flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, with two bangs, the two teammates around him disappeared into white smoke. This is clearly the situation after the avatar was cancelled. Where are the real bodies of those two people? Naturally, they have sneaked up beside the three of Neji. The moment the avatar disappeared, the two Cloud Shinobi Jonin who had been lurking in the past rushed out suddenly, and the kunai in their hands fiercely aimed at Tian and Xiao Li's vitals. However, boom, boom, one person was kicked away, and the Japanese were blown away. Xiao Li and Tian stood where they were safe and sound. Instead, two Jonin flew upside down. The leader, Cloud Shinobi, suddenly opened his eyes wide, the eyeballs almost popping out of their sockets. How can it be? Neji showed a look as if he was looking at a mentally retarded person. Are you an idiot? Playing lurking in front of a Hyuga? There's nothing blocking my view. The leader, Cloud Shinobi, slapped his forehead immediately. He didn't forget Hyuga's identity, but felt that Hyuga's attention was on himself and the clone around him, and he shouldn't be aware of the two teammates he was good at hiding. As a result, people have already discovered it. Xiao Li said directly after Jonin who was kicked out by him. Leave this person to me. Tian took out a few shurikens and looked at the other Jonin who was blown away by him. Then leave this to me, I just want to try the results of my cultivation. The remaining leader, Cloud Shinobi, naturally became Neji's opponent. Neji said calmly, have you thought about your last words? The leader, Cloud Shinobi, was furious. Stinky boy. Do you think you are sure to win? I was just careless just now. As long as I get serious, I can take care of a brat like you. Lightning-style false darkness. A ray of thunder shot past, and the big trees and rocks encountered along the way were neatly cut open. However, when Neji was scanned, Neji's figure swayed, and then disappeared into a phantom. Neji was no longer standing still. When the leader, Cloud Shinobi, was startled, and immediately looked left and right to find the trace of Neji. However, a faint voice came from behind the leader, Cloud Shinobi. Are you looking for something? Varied. The leader Cloud Shinobi looked back in shock, only to see a white light light up. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. Neji's hands immediately turned into countless palm prints, which landed on the chakra acupuncture points of the leader Cloud Shinobi, destroying all the chakra circulation channels. Almost in the blink of an eye, he struck out 64 palms with ease. It can be seen that this is not the full strength of Neji at all. And the leader, Cloud Shinobi, flew upside down and landed on the ground without breath. The dignified Cloud Shinobi village Jonin was killed by one move. Neji heaved a sigh of relief, and then looked in Tian's direction. Although I feel that this level of ninja cannot pose a threat to my two teammates. But Neji couldn't help but look over. Cloud Shinobi Jonin, who was blown away by Tianqian, endured the severe pain from the wound on his body, turned over and then his figure flashed, quickly opening the distance from Tianqian. But obviously he didn't know that what Tian was good at was not melee combat, but long-range attack. This distance is just right, let me see my latest results. Tian showed a natural smile, and threw the shuriken in his hand violently. The 10 shurikens streaked across the air, rushing towards Cloud Shinobi Jonin's vital points with a sharp whistling sound. But at the critical moment, Cloud Shinobi Jonin squatted down to avoid it. However, Tian showed a mocking smile. Do you think you'll be fine if you run away? Blast me. The shuriken that flew near Cloud Shinobi Jonin suddenly exploded, like detonating charms one by one. In fact, this is the blast technique taught by Naruto. In the study of blasting techniques, Tian is completely ranked first. For a long time, I have always felt that although my hidden weapon throwing is accurate, its lethality is seriously insufficient. And Tianqian doesn't like to poison his own weapons, so it's easy for him to touch the poison by mistake. When I was in distress every day, the blasting technique came. So after learning the blasting technique from Naruto, I keep trying every day. Finally she did. Tianshan infused every kunai and every shuriken with chakra of blasting technique. As long as she moves her mind, these shurikens and kunai will explode immediately, with great power. Cloud Shinobi Jonin is naturally unaware of this. Unprepared, Cloud Shinobi Jonin let out a scream, and was drowned in the thick smoke from the explosion. The screams disappeared quickly, and it was clear that there was more than good. Through the thick smoke, Neji saw that this Cloud Shinobi Jonin was out of breath, so he stopped paying attention immediately, but looked in Xiao Li's direction. As a result, as soon as I looked over, I saw that Xiao Li had already ended the battle. Xiao Li's fighting style has always been straightforward. Although Naruto taught a lot of ninjutsu, but Xiao Li's learning results are very average. Of course, it is only relative to their classmates. But Xiao Li just learned it, and still likes to fight with fists and feet in battle. This also led to Xiao Li's ability to learn those auxiliary combat abilities very quickly, such as body flicker technique, dodge technique and so on. So, paired with the extremely fast body flicker technique and his impressive speed, Xiao Li's opponent couldn't see Xiao Li at all, and was knocked down. Just like this Cloud Shinobi Jonin, who could hardly see the corner of Xiao Li's clothes, was inexplicably knocked down to the ground. Moreover, Xiao Li's attacks came one after another, without giving Cloud Shinobi Jonin a chance to react. Like an irresistible sandbag, it was kicked by Xiao Li directly into the ground. Phew. Then you won't be able to find Naruto-kun. Xiao Li nodded in satisfaction, and his opponent is the only one who is still breathing. Comminuted fractures can occur throughout the body, due to multiple ruptures in the viscera. It's not far from dying. Neji rummaged through the trio and found their scrolls. It happened to be different from the scrolls owned by his own team. Now go directly to the abandoned sentry tower. At this time, Neji turned sharply, looking behind him. There, a person suddenly appeared at an unknown time. Orochimaru, who had recovered his disguise, quietly looked at the three of Neji, and when he saw that Neji found himself, he immediately clapped his hands and applauded lightly. Orochimaru was very satisfied, although Neji's quality is much worse than Naruto and Sasuke. But still very surprising. At least in the same age group, Neji is too good. And the white eyes are also a big advantage. Since you can't get Naruto and Sharingan, Orochimaru is very willing to get a body with white eyes. As for Caged Bird? That's nothing to Orochimaru. As expected of being a student in the same class as Naruto, it is really gratifying. Orochimaru licked his tongue with uncontrollable excitement on his face. Can't understand Naruto, can't understand Sasuke, can't I understand your Hyuga? Today I must take away an excellent body, Orochimaru swore in his heart. And Neji, also by rolling his eyes, judged that Orochi is not a good opponent. Neji immediately said seriously, "This guy is very strong, you retreat first, and I will be able to catch up with you later. Remember, go directly to the abandoned tower." Xiao Li didn't want to. I will not give up my companions. However, Tien grabbed Xiao Li's arm and left quickly. Xiao Li still wanted to struggle, so he listened to Tien. Trust Neji's judgment. And it's easy for Neji to escape, don't forget Neji's body flicker technique. After being reminded every day, Xiao Li suddenly woke up. Indeed, in terms of body flicker technique, Neji is faster than Xiao Li. Good judgment. Orochimaru glanced at Tien and Xiao Li who were leaving quickly, and had no intention of chasing after them. Orochimaru's target is Neji anyway. Since Neji is willing to stay and end the queen, he can save himself from entanglement with the other two because of his snake attachment. But do you think you can stop me? Orochimaru said playfully. He is not in a hurry to make a move, but wants to put pressure on Neji with language and politics. And, conveniently arranged some means of sneak attack. Although Bayan can see everything around him, he has a very obvious shortcoming. That is, it is impossible to see the situation under the ground through the thick soil. And Orochimaru has quietly arranged some small tricks. Neji watched Orochimaru calmly and warily. It seems that you, like those three people in Cloud Shinobi, have dark secrets. I think your target should also be Naruto. Hearing Naruto's name, the smile on the corner of Orochimaru's mouth froze, and a strong killing intent emanated from his body. But it was only for a moment, and was soon restrained by Orochimaru. But Neji felt it anyway. Immediately, Neji had some guesses. It seems that you have found Naruto, but the result is not what you expected. But you look really strong, and you were able to survive Naruto. Neji exposed the scars indifferently, trying to let Orochimaru show some flaws, so as to look for opportunities. But Orochimaru has stabilized his mind. At the same time, the dark hand arranged by Orochimaru has reached the designated 18th position. The insight is so sharp, it's hard to imagine that you are only 8 years old. Orochimaru sighed in admiration, and then his face changed suddenly. It really makes me want more and more. Boom. With a loud noise, the ground beneath Neji's feet exploded, and a huge snakehead appeared, opening its mouth wide to swallow Neji. Neji was taken aback because he didn't notice the movement under his feet at all. Bayan didn't see, and couldn't see. However, relying on his powerful reflexes, the moment the ground exploded, Neji directly left the spot with a body flicker technique. When it reappeared, it was in front of Orochimaru. Small tricks. Orochimaru said indifferently. He stretched out his hand suddenly, a lot of lion majesty emerged from his cuff, and threw Neji to the ground. Ah! Neji let out a miserable scream and struggled frantically. But soon, with a bang, Neji suddenly turned into a ball of white dew. It's Neji's clone. Startled, Orochimaru turned around quickly. But what catches the eye is Neji, who has already put on a posture. 8 trigrams 128 palms. A sharp light flashed in Neji's eyes, and the figure came to Orochimaru's side in a flash, and the palm of his hand flew down the mountain, bringing out an afterimage, which was crazily photographed on the chakra acupuncture points around Orochimaru's body, constantly destroying Orochimaru's body. Under this continuous attack, Orochimaru has no history of resistance at all. In a short period of time, Neji hit 128 palms, and with the sudden force of the last palm, Orochimaru was sent flying far away, knocking down several big trees along the way. Who? Neji panted slightly, staring at the direction in which the big snake flew away. Should be fine, right? With this level of attack, all the acupoints in the body will be destroyed. Even if you don't die, you will lose the ability to fight. Suddenly, Neji frowned and looked up sharply. There were several people on the branch. The forehead protectors on these people's heads are exactly the same as those who attacked him just now. In other words, these people are in the same group as that person just now. Fortunately, these people's chakra is not as scary as the previous one, but it still makes Neji very alert. At this time, it was Kidomaru et al. After finding Neji and notifying Orochimaru to come over, they waited for Orochimaru to get rid of Neji and take him away. But what I never expected was that Neji broke out with such a powerful fighting power that even Orochimaru was unable to fight back. This scene once again shocked Junma. Are these Konoha brats all so powerful? Kidomaru murmured, his eyes full of disbelief. Do said with a bitter face. No, only this year's students are special because they were in the same class as Naruto. Naruto's volume king is really 2 volume. When you get involved directly, each of these little ghosts becomes like an inhuman existence. Too perverted. Naruto can defeat Orochimaru, and everyone can accept it. After all heard the rumors of Naruto beating Orochimaru. But Sasuke stunned them by defeating Orochimaru so easily. Unexpectedly, besides Naruto, there is another boy with terrifying strength. Since you can't beat it, then you have no choice but to settle for the next best thing. But the target found this time also defeated Orochimaru. Now, Kidomaru and others couldn't accept it at all. It's really scary. Konoha imps. Wait. Master Orochimaru is alright? Hyuga was the first to find out about Orochimaru's situation, and immediately said loudly. Everyone looked over and found that Orochimaru had appeared unscathed, but his body looked a little wet. Kidomaru and others, who had seen it many times, immediately realized that Orochimaru had used the Orochi Ryu body replacement technique to avoid damage. Even so, Kidomaru et al. Are very encouraging. Because when Orochimaru used the big snake flow body replacement technique before, he used it to escape every time. But this time, it appeared in front of Neji again. It shows that Orochimaru feels he can win. This immediately put Kidomaru and others at ease. Looking at Neji quietly, Orochimaru's expression was extremely shocked. Orochimaru had just heard Neji shout 128 palms. But in Orochimaru's impression, the holy move should only reach 68 palms. How did this suddenly double? It seems that this kid is also a genius. I must take his body. Saying that, Orochimaru rushed over straight. But when Orochimaru moved, Neji moved too. Even 128 palms are not good enough, it seems that we can only retreat. Neji was a little reconciled, but it's better to retreat under the current situation. Now is not the time to be brave. So, at the moment Orochimaru rushed over, Neji directly used the body flicker technique. And it is used continuously. In the blink of an eye, everyone lost sight of Neji. Where did the person go? Jirobo blinked, dumbfounded. Tuo Sizun and others rushed to listen to the movement, but they didn't hear any movement. This suddenly made their eyes widen in shock. This shows that Neji ran out of their detection range in an extreme time. This speed is too terrifying. We didn't hear anything. Seeing everyone looking at him, Tuo Sizun shook his head and said. Did not hear. XX. They do know how strong the hearing of those who have undergone Orochimaru's transformation is Tothanvil. Wind and grass within several kilometers, as long as they want, they can hear it. As a result, tell them now that they can't hear? The opponent ran out of this range so quickly? Orochimaru's expression darkened completely. Follow me. Today I must catch one. Whether it's a kid from Uchiha or a kid from the Hyuga clan. Find them all for me. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Kimimaro and others bowed their heads to accept the order, and then scattered away. Only an angry Orochimaru was left gasping for breath. These 2 days have been too humiliating for Orochimaru. Orochimaru has never been in such a mess. Inside the abandoned sentry tower in the dead forest. Naruto sat cross-legged, closed his eyes and meditated deeply. Beside, little Sakura is sitting on the wall and reading a book quietly. Sasuke didn't sit down, but stood leaning against the wall, folded his hands on his chest, and closed his eyes. The entire sentry tower was silent, only little Sakura was turning the pages of the book. Sudden. Naruto and Sasuke slowly opened their eyes, and little Sakura stopped turning the pages of the book. They turned to look at the entrance. 3 figures slowly appeared. 1 fat and 2 thin. Sure enough, I guessed that the first qualified must be you. Shikamaru scratched his head and walked in, with the expected 68 look on his face. Choji kept eating with a bag of potato chips in his hand. Seeing Naruto, Ino immediately abandoned his teammates, ran over and squeezed little Sakura away, and sat next to Naruto. Naruto-kun is really amazing, he was the first one to pass the exam. Naruto smiled and said. You are also very good, if we are not the first, you will be the first. Sasuke snorted coldly. Little Sakura grabbed Ino's ponytail and roared angrily. How dare you hit me with your ass, it hurts. Ino could only stand up and stay away from Naruto in order to avoid all the hair being ripped off. The 2 girls quickly huddled together, just like they usually do. Shikamaru said with a smile. It's still you who are amazing. Seeing you look like this, it's been a while since you passed the test? Obviously this is only the 2nd day of the exam. At this time, 3 more people walked by the door. Someone is already here. I thought we were the fastest. Before the people arrived, Jin Lai was heard from the group's loud voice. The people who came were Kiba, Hinata and Shino. Naruto is faster than me, but I didn't expect you to be faster than me. Fang looked at Shikamaru with dissatisfaction, obviously a fan of dissatisfaction. Shikamaru spread his hands and shrugged helplessly. Who made me lucky? Looking helpless, the smile on Shikamaru's mouth made him look very hateful. You bastard. Tooth couldn't hold back all of a sudden, and directly threw Shikamaru to the ground, and the 2 immediately started fighting. Sasuke looked at them, an expression of impatience immediately appeared in his eyes. Childish. After playing around for a while, everyone took a break. Shino asked suddenly. I wonder if you have encountered Anbu's ninja? Shikamaru asked curiously. Why ask? We didn't see it. Kiba seemed to react, and said without waiting for Shino's answer. We saw people from Anbu attacking candidates from other ninja villages. Hearing what Ya said, Shikamaru's eyes lit up, and various conspiracy theories flashed through his mind. Then I heard Naruto say. Oh, this is what I suggested to Grandpa 3rd generation. I think this Chunin exam is too easy, so I asked Grandpa 3rd generation to make it more difficult. Then let Anbu attack and eliminate candidates in the forest. As soon as the words came out, everyone immediately stared at Naruto with dead fish eyes. After a long time, it turned out that your kid made it? Shikamaru shook his head helplessly, sighing for the dark images he had just thought of in his mind. Shikamaru thought that Konoha used this Chunin exam to eradicate the elite genin from other ninja villages. The result turned out to be from Naruto. This is really unexpected. The difficulty is really low, Sasuke said with a cold snort. And those Anbu dare not appear in front of us at all. Naruto said with a smile. I thought you didn't find out, but you have already found out. Sasuke gave Naruto a blank look and said. How could it be impossible to detect such an obvious line of sight? Ya and others smiled awkwardly and touched their heads. They didn't see anything. Shino frowned suspiciously. But why did those Anbu leave immediately after seeing us? Since it is the order of Grandpa 3rd generation, they should attack us, right? Sasuke said contemptuously. Didn't I just say that? Those Anbu didn't dare to appear in front of us at all. Because they feel that they are not our opponents. Fang suddenly clapped his hands. It turned out to be like this. We felt very strange at the time, but we didn't expect the reason to be so simple. Afterwards, Teeth scratched his head in embarrassment and said. But in this way, doesn't it seem that we are already stronger than Konoha's Anbu? Hey, we're obviously not even Chunin. Shikamaru shook his head and said. Don't belittle yourself. With our current strength, we won't be at a disadvantage even in the face of Jonin in the village. Of course, it's all because of Naruto. If it weren't for Naruto's pursuit of excellence and perfection, it wouldn't have driven us to where we are now. Naruto suddenly smiled shyly. Shikamaru's eyes twitched. I'm not complimenting you, but Shikamaru just complained in his heart. Because Shikamaru has to admit that without Naruto's help, it would take at least 10 years or even longer for him to achieve his current achievements. No matter how lazy Shikamaru is, he knows how much Naruto helped them in this matter. Even after Naruto rolled up, it made them very painful. But since there are very generous receipts, let's make it harder. I can still live with it, Tooth suddenly suggested. By the way, there are still 5 days until the end of the exam, shall we just stay here? Naruto shook his head and said. I'm not sure what the consequences will be if I leave the sentry tower now, so I suggest to stay honestly for a few days. Shikamaru also nodded. When you don't know the specific situation, you should be more cautious. If you were disqualified because you left the sentry tower, then the previous efforts will be in vain. Tooth's face suddenly collapsed. Even Akamaru on the top of the Tooth became listless. Isn't that too boring? There's nothing here. Shikamaru shook his head and said. Then we can only wait. The Tooth was full of helplessness, but he didn't dare to try it himself. Find a corner to sit down bored, and then start teasing. Soon, the smile reappeared on Fang's face. After all, Ya is just a 7-year-old child. Emotions come and go quickly. Everyone also found a place to sit down. Close your eyes and rest your mind, and read and study. Those who eat, those who sleep. Time passed quickly in silence. Wait until the sun is about to set. Another team arrives. It was the 3 Neji who were hunted down by Orochimaru. But Neji and the others have escaped Orochimaru's pursuit. So there are no people from Orochimaru and Yinin village following behind. After that, there was no one else, until the last day of the exam. Only one after another, some people passed the exam. In the end, only 32 people passed the exam. The number of people has been greatly reduced. Among them, some of them are Konoha shinobi. That is, Naruto and their 12 Shaokyang, plus the pocket team. Next, Yinren village has the second largest population. The Atonin 5, Orochimaru's weird woman in disguise, and the Toshin trio. There are 9 people in total. Only Gaara, Kankuro and Temari are left in Sanagakure. Kirigakure was wiped out. There are only 2 single seedlings left in Cloud Shinobi village. Only the Black Earth Squad remains in Sanagakure. The remaining Shinobu villages, like Kirigakure, were wiped out. It's really tragic. Fang couldn't help but said, and then his eyes fell on Naruto. Ya feels that this situation is most likely related to Naruto's going to 3rd generation to increase the difficulty. But what I don't know is that Naruto not only found 3rd generation, but also Danzo. Anbu from 3rd generation can show mercy, but Danzo's route is to kill people on sight. Completely red-eyed. The whole dead forest is full of corpses. But most of them are the corpses of ninjas from other villages. Except for a few Konoha village ninjas who were killed, all the students in Naruto's class were eliminated for other reasons. There are those who are curious about what is in the scroll, open the scroll and get eliminated. There are also those who fight with each other, and in the end both losers, unable to continue to participate. In short, in the end, there were only these 32 qualified people. Among them, the number of leaves accounted for half. At the end of the second round of exams, people in each ninja village were notified to take away the examinees or corpses from their villages. Gokage went directly to the abandoned sentry tower. Then looking at the number of people passing by, I was dumbfounded. Even the 3rd generation was shocked. What's going on? What about my many outstanding students? Why are there only these left? 3rd generation can't figure it out at all. Obviously, the students in Naruto's class can catch up with Jonin. How come there are so few qualified people? It doesn't make sense. Raikage Aya looked at the subordinates who had only 2 people left, and was stunned. What happened? What about the many subordinates I have arranged? Why are there only 2 left? Where are the others? Why is there no one? What happened? I immediately asked the 2 disguised Jonins aside. Why are there only the 2 of you left? And what happened to your injuries? Why are they so serious? The 2 Jonin looked at each other, and couldn't help showing a wry smile. Lord Raikage, we are the only ones left, the others are dead. Ai suddenly widened his eyes, his face full of confusion. Wait. I'm a little confused. What's going on? There are so many of you, who can fight you? Jonin on the left said with a bitter face. As soon as we entered, before we could find the target, Konoha Anbu's people appeared. They killed people indiscriminately, even if they saw people from the same village. The inside has become a complete hell. Jonin on the right seems to still have those tragic images in front of his eyes, and his whole body is trembling non-stop. Raikage-sama, this is too miserable. The entire forest has turned into a flesh mill, and everyone is dead. It's full of dead bodies. Ai's eyes suddenly widened as big as a cow, full of disbelief. Is this the F*King Chunin exam? Whose Chunin exam can't even pass Jonin? Are you F*King testing Chunin? This is Ying testing. No. Lousy must find an explanation from that old man from third generation. Upon hearing this, Darui on the side hurried forward to grab Ai. No way, Lord Raikage, if we go through like this, won't our plan be exposed? When the time comes, we will be the ones who will be wronged, Yinjie. Ai went to the third generation regardless. But Konoha is also deceiving people too much. He even used this method to weaken our strength. At this time, the trembling Jonin said suddenly. Actually, I think it's probably not Konoha's Anbu. As soon as these words came out, Ai suddenly turned his head and looked over. What else did you say? Say it all. Jonin was taken aback and said hastily. We encountered 2 waves of Anbu. One group of Anbu will kill, but the other group will not. So I think it's very likely that the 2 groups of Anbu received different orders. When I heard this, a flash of inspiration flashed through his mind. So it is. It must be that old silver coin from Danzo. The roots under him pretended to be Anbu, then attacked and killed the candidates, and finally when we were furious because of this, we pushed everything to the third generation. It's really a good plan, as expected of the darkness of the ninja world. Darui was dumbfounded. But seeing that I didn't intend to ask third generation, he asked blankly. So you're going to see Danzo? I rolled his eyes. What am I going to find him for? And I have no evidence for such a thing. But this kind of people is disgusting. No. I must not let Danzo, the old silver coin's plan succeed. He wants to return the charges to the third generation, and the hidden sun simply doesn't chase him. Then, I looked at the 2 surviving Jonins and said. The plan remains the same, you continue to look for opportunities to assassinate Naruto. The 2 Jonin looked at each other, then nodded heavily and said. Yes, Master Raikage. Ai's eyes were burning with anger. Just wait and see, damn Danzo. Lousy will definitely make you pay for what happened today. After all, I paid a high price to eliminate Naruto. A dozen or so Jonin, even Cloud Shinobi Village, one of the 5 great nations, felt a little overwhelmed. As a result, the spring was broken here. Can I not be angry, nephew? I was going crazy, and the other side. Compared to Obito, who also sent someone to pretend, was dumbfounded. Because, none of Kirigakure came out, all dead inside. Of course, Obito certainly won't feel bad. That's Kirigakure's ninja after all. No matter how many times he died, Obito would not feel distressed, and would even be happy in his heart. But now the situation is that Obito doesn't understand what's going on inside. What the hell is going on in there? Why do only so many people come out? Who can tell me? Obito turned his head to look at Raikage, and found that Raikage was furious, and the curiosity in his heart suddenly became stronger. At this moment, Obito was tickling his heart, eager to know what happened in the forest these days. But none of Kirigakure came out alive. Even if Obito wanted to know, there was nothing he could do. Alas, the plan failed. Obito shook his head helplessly. Obito wanted to control Yagura and asked third generation for an explanation. But on second thought, Obito gave up. After all, I really investigated and found that there were several Jonin among the candidates of Kirigakure, so how should Obito explain it? Chunin exam results have Jonin mixed in. This must be a conspiracy. Anyway, the plan had failed, and Obito didn't want to try to cause trouble, and finally burned the fire on himself. If you accidentally expose your true identity, the loss outweighs the gain. At this stage, it is still necessary to act in a low-key manner. Seeing that only Gaara passed the exam in Sunagakure, Luo Sha frowned deeply, and his heart was filled with anger. Before the start, there were dozens of Sand Shinobi ninjas, but when the test results came out, there were only 3. It seems that the competition inside is very fierce. Chio said thoughtfully. Then he looked at Temari and said with a serious face. What on earth happened? Tell me about the situation in detail. Temari, who was covered in scars and tired, nodded and said reluctantly. Inside, the is completely insane. Konkuro nodded sympathetically. The people inside kill everyone, especially those Anbu from Konoha, it's crazy. If it wasn't for Gaara's strength enough, I'm afraid we would. Chiyo's eyes narrowed immediately. She instinctively felt something was wrong. Are you sure that's Anbu? Konkuro nodded and said. Black clothing, wearing an animal mask, it looks exactly like Anbu's attire. When you see someone, you don't even say a word, and you kill them directly, because it's scary. Chiyo looked at Luo Sha and said, do you see what the problem is? Luo Sha thought for a while and said, is that not Anbu? Someone else pretending to be Anbu? Chiyo nodded. It must be like this, otherwise, with third Hokage's cowardly character, he would not be able to do such a thing. And there is only one person in Konoha who can do this kind of thing. Luo Sha narrowed his eyes, and an ordinary-looking guy who was full of intrigues appeared in his mind. Danzo. Chiyo looked at third generation and said with a smirk on his face. It seems that Konoha's interior is not very peaceful. Is Danzo doing this to make us take advantage of the opportunity to challenge the status of third generation? Luo Sha looked at Chiyo and asked, what are we going to do? Chiyo shook his head and said, we don't do anything, just watch the excitement. This kind of thing, Raikage's single-minded guy is best suited to do it. It's a pity that Chiyo didn't know that I had figured out some things in his brain, and because of his previous tampering, he didn't intend to pursue the responsibility of the master. Luo Sha nodded, then looked at Gaara. The task is still going on, if you have the opportunity, just eradicate Naruto directly, at all costs. Gaara nodded silently, without saying anything. For Luo Sha's father, Gaara really has nothing to say. Onoki saw that Haitu was safe and sound, so he rushed up and hugged Haitu. Great, my good granddaughter is fine. Haitu felt a little embarrassed when he heard Onogi's crying voice. Among the people present, except for Naruto and others, only Kuroto was unscathed. The main black soil can fly, and others cannot reach her. Well, Grandpa, there are a lot of people watching here, but you are Tsuchikage. Haitu said in a low voice. Only then did Onoki slowly loosen the black soil, but the worry in his eyes was palpable. It was really frightening to see other people covered in scars. Fortunately, the black soil was not injured. After calming down, Yin Yihi asked softly. What the hell happened in there? How come only these people passed the exam? As soon as he mentioned this, Haitu's face immediately darkened. It's Konoha's Anbu. No, those are not Anbu, it's a group of people disguised as Konoha Anbu who are killing people inside. It's full of candidates' bodies. Onoki frowned suddenly. Someone pretending to be Anbu. In Konoha, a person with such strength can have. Wait. Onoki's eyes widened, and he immediately guessed the identities of those people. It's the Roots. It's the Danzo Roots. Danzo has the audacity to play such a trick under the nose of third Hokage. It seems that Danzo has coveted Hokage's position. Thinking of this, Yin Zuimu suddenly smiled expectantly. I wonder if Danzo can rebel. At that time, Konoha's vitality will definitely be weakened. As long as I seize the opportunity, I will definitely be able to take a piece of meat. Huang Tu said worriedly. What about those genin who died in battle? Onoki gave his son a blank look. As long as you die in battle, the pension will be enough. They will die for Iwagakure sooner or later anyway, it's just a matter of time. Although these words sound very cold-blooded, the world of ninjas is like this. There are too few ninjas who can live to the end of their lives. Even if he didn't die on the way to the mission, when he gets old, there will definitely be enemies coming to him. Basically, no ninja gets a good death. This is the cruelty of the ninja world. Human life is worthless. Huang Tu nodded and said nothing more. At this moment, a pale-faced Konoha Jonin stepped out of the shit. Holding a piece of paper in his hand, he coughed twice and said. My name is Moonlight Gale, and I'm the chief examiner of the third exam, ahem. The content of the third exam will not be divided into teams, ahem, but a one-on-one individual battle. Originally, according to the normal process, ahem, we should immediately hold the preliminaries of the third exam here, ahem, to reduce the number of participants in the main competition. However, ahem, considering that a few candidates have, ahem, serious injuries, it would be unfair to start directly. So, the preliminaries are postponed to 3 days later, ahem, please recover from your injuries as soon as possible, and don't delay the exam in 3 days. Cough 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 cough. After finishing speaking, Yugon Gaifeng coughed again. Hei-Tu couldn't help but whispered. Could Jonin, a sick boy, be an examiner? I feel like he could cough to death here. Huang Tu said in a low voice. People are Jonin after all, and their strength is definitely not weak. Black soil is non-committal. After a good cough, Gaze Gale's breathing became much easier. So Moonlight Gale went on to say, if a player wants to abstain, he can raise it at any time. If you abstain from voting, you lose the qualification to advance to Chunin. Please consider carefully. After the voice fell, 2 arms were raised up immediately. Moonlight looked over and said, "What's the matter with you?" He said with a narrowed smile, "I abstain." Behind the back, the strange woman disguised by Orochimaru also said, "I also abstain." Moonlight Gale nodded. "Okay, I know." Moonlight Gale simply and neatly crossed out the names of the 2. Then look at other people. Anyone else who wants to abstain? Okay, then I will determine that you are preparing to take the 3rd exam. Everyone, please go back and have a good rest. After 3 days, please take part in the preliminaries of the 3rd exam on time. To be honest, Naruto was a little surprised by this result. Because in Naruto's impression, after the 2nd assessment, it will immediately lead to the preliminaries of the 3rd assessment. Unexpectedly, there was an accident this time. It's not enough to look at Orochimaru's scarred appearance, and they really don't look like they have fighting power. Naruto didn't care. When he got home, when Naruto closed his eyes and meditated, he found 9 Tails on a whim. Coming to the spiritual space, Naruto saw that 9 Tails was looking at the chessboard intently. Neither reacted to Naruto's arrival. Knowing that Naruto walked to the opposite side of the chessboard and sat down, he said without raising his head, "Don't touch the chessboard yet." Naruto looked at the board, and then directly took out a piece and landed in a strange position. "Wait. What are you doing?" 9 Tails looked up angrily, but saw Naruto's smiling face. After talking helplessly, 9 Tails looked down at the position where Naruto had dropped. But looking at it, a look of astonishment appeared on Wei's face. It looked up at Naruto repeatedly, looked down at the chessboard, and finally said in disbelief, "The chess game that has troubled me for 3 days, but you solved it at a glance?" Naruto said leisurely, "It shows that you still have room for improvement, which is a good thing. But I didn't come to play chess with you today." 9 Tails gathered the pieces on the chessboard and asked casually, "Then what are you doing here?" Naruto said with a smile, "How is it? Do you want to come out and get some air?" 9 Tails paused his hand, and then continued to gather the chess pieces. "I'm not interested, it's better to play chess at home to improve my chess skills." Naruto felt helpless. Before playing chess with 9 Tails, it was just to kill 9 Tails' hostility. As a result, it seems to be too worn out. 9 Tails is almost losing his temper. It feels like becoming an old man. "Don't you feel suffocated after being trapped in my body for so long? This time is a good opportunity. Don't you really want to come out and get some air?" Naruto persuaded him with kind words. The eyes are full of sincerity. 9 Tails sighed deeply upon hearing this. "What if I go out? Your strength is already strong enough, no one is your opponent. Whether I go out or not, it doesn't affect anything." 9 Tails' negative attitude made Naruto frown. I even started to ponder whether teaching 9 Tails how to play Go was a little too much. It feels like the character of 9 Tails has changed. Naruto saw 9 Tails' low-pitched look, and immediately said seriously, "No, it's all because of you, 9 Tails, that I can have the strength I have now." 9 Tails looked up and looked at Naruto silently. "You mean the chakra I gave you? That's just negligible help. Even without those chakras, with your strength and talent, you will be able to achieve your current achievements sooner or later." 9 Tails, this is too negative. Naruto immediately shook his head and said, "What you said is completely wrong. Without your help, I would never have achieved what I am doing now. You are an integral part of me, we are one." Naruto held out his hand, his face full of sincerity. Come with me, only when we are truly together is our strongest area of force." 9 Tails stared at Naruto's outstretched right hand, his eyes full of emotion. Facing Naruto's sincere invitation, 9 Tails no longer resisted, and a serious look appeared in his eyes. 9 Tails held out Naruto's hand with its huge claws, and said seriously, "Since you invited me so seriously, then I will do my best." "If you want to do it, you have to do your best, don't you?" Naruto suddenly smiled. "Yes, that's it, Kurama." 9 Tails also showed a big smile. That night, Naruto came to a remote place far from the village. After all, if 9 Tails comes out, there will definitely be a lot of movement. So in order to avoid some unnecessary troubles, Naruto can only go to such remote places. "Come out and get some air first," Naruto said with a smile. 9 Tails did not speak, but 9 Tails' chakra sprang from Naruto's body. The red bubble-like chakra quickly envelops Naruto. When Naruto was completely wrapped, chakra began to become solidified and shrunk, and the color became bright and luminous. In the end, Naruto really turned into a golden light. If a Buddhist believer sees Naruto, he will immediately regard Naruto as a Buddha or something. Glittering all over. However, it's not just the appearance. The powerful chakra of Nine Tails completely covers Naruto's body, making Naruto really feel the power of Nine Tails chakra. Let me try it a little bit. A Rasengan, a golden Rasengan, suddenly appeared in Naruto's hand. Tailed Beast Bomb Rasengan. Integrating the power of the Tailed Beast Bomb into the Rasengan, even a fist-sized Rasengan has impressive destructive power. Naruto threw it hard, and Rasengan flew to the distant hill at an extremely fast speed. Behold, the sun appeared. In the dark night, the moment Tailed Beast Bomb Rasengan fell on the top of the mountain, the dazzling light burst out immediately, like a sun falling on the world. The light is strong and the spread range is aurora. But the time for the light to appear is also very short. Accompanied by a violent roar, the light quickly became weak, and finally returned to nothingness. Returning to nothingness together, there is also the mountaintop. I saw that the entire mountain disappeared without a trace. The power is not bad, but it needs to be strengthened. Naruto nodded, satisfied with the power. Next, Naruto continued to cooperate with Nine Tails to improve the tacit understanding between the two. But Tailed Beast Bomb Rasengan made a bright light, but was seen by a person in the middle of the night. Uchiha Clan Land, the home of the head of the clan, Uchiha Fugaku. Fugaku, who just got up at night, released the pressure in his body and was about to go back to his room to continue sleeping. Just at this time, a dazzling light appeared in the distance, illuminating the sky. Also lights up Fugaku's face. What is that? Fugaku's expression turned serious, because that light is not far from the Uchiha tribe. If the person who released that light came near the Uchiha tribe. Thinking of this, Fugaku's complexion suddenly became more serious. No. I have to check the situation. Fugaku made a decisive decision and rushed towards the doctor in the direction of the light. Going full speed ahead, Fugaku soon saw the person who made the light. It's Naruto. It's just that Naruto's state at this time is very strange. The whole body exudes golden light, and the whole person is golden. And it brought Fugaku an extremely powerful oppressive force. Most importantly, Naruto has the chakra that Fugaku is very familiar with. As this, chakra from Nine Tails? Fugaku recognized Nine Tails chakra at first sight. He immediately thought of Nine Tails controlled by an unknown Uchiha during the Nine Tails rebellion 7 years ago. It was also at that time that the gap between the village and Uchiha was widened, and even at the end, they turned against each other. Even Fugaku's own son, Itachi, plays an important role here. If it weren't for Naruto's help, I'm afraid Uchiha would have lost a lot that night. No. Because of the village's laissez-faire, maybe the whole of Uchiha will disappear. So, when Fugaku saw the little sun made by Naruto, the tension in his heart dissipated immediately. Because Fugaku really regards Naruto as his own. But looking at Naruto's state at this time, Fugaku also felt the deep pressure. Of course, it was for Fugaku's youngest son, Sasuke, who felt the history. What a strong oppressive force, is this the power of a tailed beast? Even during the Nine Tails rebellion, Fugaku didn't feel such a strong pressure. So this is the real strength of Jinchuriki. At this moment, Fugaku had a deeper understanding of Jinchuriki. At the same time, heavy pressure also followed. If this continues, Sasuke will never be able to catch up with Naruto. Just when Fugaku thought so, suddenly there was a bigger change in the field. I saw more Nine Tails chakra emerged from Naruto's body, and his body gradually expanded. After a while, a golden hill appeared in front of Fugaku. That hill is the golden Nine Tails. What's going on? Is it out of control? Fugaku's complexion changed, but seeing that Nine Tails did not intend to riot or destroy at all, he was slowly relieved. Perhaps this is also part of the Jinchuriki? It seems that the plan should be implemented. Fugaku secretly made up his mind, and the golden Nine Tails haven't been around for long. After destroying a hill with a tailed beast bomb, it returned to normal. At this time, Fugaku finally couldn't bear his curiosity and came out from his hiding place. And Fugaku didn't hide his footsteps, in order to let Naruto be aware of his existence for the first time. Sure enough, as soon as Fugaku came out, Naruto turned to look at him. In reality, however, Naruto already knew about Fugaku when he first arrived nearby. Naruto turned to look at Fugaku and said with a surprised and embarrassed expression. Fugaku, uncle? Fugaku suddenly smiled generously. Don't worry, I won't say what happened just now. But, is that the power of Jinchuriki? It's really shocking. Naruto took back the Nine Tails chakra on his body, and his body no longer emitted golden light. Hey. Naruto scratched his head and smiled a little embarrassedly. I just tried it, but I didn't expect it to be quite difficult. It took several tries before it worked. The corner of Fugaku's mouth twitched suddenly. Very difficult? What nonsense are you talking about? This is very difficult? Is it difficult to succeed after several attempts? Forget it. You can't worry too much about Naruto's affairs, it's not good for your health. Taking a deep breath to calm down the turmoil in his heart, Fugaku asked kindly. Are you planning to use it during the Chunin exam? Actually, with your current strength, I don't think anyone will be your opponent. Naruto shook his head and said, You can't say that, Fugaku uncle. Everyone worked hard in this Chunin exam, so naturally I can't relax. So, I want to use my strongest posture to face this exam. It can be regarded as not leaving a regret for myself. After all, it is very likely that I pass the Chunin exam this time, and there will be no next time for me. Fugaku thought to himself, isn't this nonsense? You can be AF** King Hokage with your strength. With your form just now, even lousy and third generation cannot be your opponent. But it certainly cannot be said. I see, Naruto is really a serious kid. But recently, Naruto, you seldom come to our house, and Makoto is still talking about it. Speaking of Naruto, have you forgotten her? Naruto suddenly said with a face of shame. I was negligent, I have been busy with the Chunin exam recently. But don't worry, after the Chunin exam, I will definitely pay a visit. Hearing this, Fugaku, who was originally smiling, suddenly said with a straight face. What a door-to-door visit. My home is your home, you know. I treat you as my child, Naruto said with a face full of emotion. Fugaku uncle. Fugaku said with a satisfied smile. We also know that you are very busy recently, but if you can spare time, let's go and see your Makoto aunt. She really misses you recently. Naruto nodded and said. I understand, Fugaku uncle, Fugaku said with a smile. Then uncle won't bother you, I wish you a good result in the Chunin exam. Then, Fugaku turned and left. After walking away, the smile on Fugaku's face disappeared, and turned into a serious face. No, Naruto is so serious about this Chunin exam, but Sasuke is just doing some ordinary training. I have to make Sasuke move too. Even if it is not as good as Naruto, we must show the demeanor of our Uchiha clan. Fugaku does have Naruto as his child, but anyway, Naruto is not Uchiha either. In terms of value, Fugaku must value his own son more. As for Itachi, that guy has been dismissed from Fugaku's mind. If Itachi appeared in front of Fugaku, I'm afraid Fugaku would take action to clean up the house. Fortunately, it was discovered in time, and there is still time to arrange it. Fugaku turned his head to look at the distant horizon, and it was still a long time before the sun rose. It is almost impossible for Sasuke to have the strength to fight Naruto in just 2 or 3 days. But they are the Uchiha clan. For how to quickly improve strength, naturally has its own set of methods. Especially after learning about how Naruto helped the juniors in the family open their eyes, Fugaku became even more enlightened. It turned out to be able to do so. At that time, Fugaku realized for the first time that it is not so difficult to open his eyes. As for what state one can reach after opening one's eyes, it just depends on one's talent. Fugaku believes that with Sasuke's talent, he will be able to achieve what Fugaku expects. After the great idea, Fugaku immediately started to prepare. The earlier the time, the better, so that Sasuke can have more time to adapt to the new power. I really can't wait. It must have been a heart-pounding fight. Fugaku couldn't help feeling a little excited. So, non-stop preparations began. Time flies. Before the sun rose, Sasuke had already got up, and then went to the forest for daily practice as usual. And Fugaku, who had been prepared for a long time, started the final preparations immediately after Sasuke left. When the sun rose, Sasuke finished his morning exercise and returned to the door of the house. Suddenly there was a strong smell of blood. At this moment, Sasuke's pupils trembled. This bloody smell is very strong, mother. Sasuke rushed in immediately, regardless of whether there would be an enemy trap inside. However, when he broke through the gate of the yard, what he saw was a large pool of blood on the ground and a severed limb. That arm was very familiar to Sasuke. It is the arm of his father Fugaku. Father. Sasuke's eyes widened, and the pupils were instantly stained with blood red. At this moment, Sasuke has lost the ability to think, and his eyes are bloodshot. Swish. Sasuke rushed into the room regardless. I saw a large pool of blood on the ground and walls. He ignored it, just looking for traces of his parents. After he broke into his parents' room, his eyes widened instantly. Yo, my stupid brother, are you back at last? In front of Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi sat on a chair with his legs crossed, his right elbow resting on the armrest of the chair, and he dragged his chin with his palm. Itachi's body is covered with bright red bloodline. In the eyes of indifference, is the Mangekyo Sharingan. In front of the ferret, lay two corpses, headless corpses. But the familiar clothes always remind Sasuke who the owners of these two corpses are. He took a trembling step forward, but his toes hit an obstacle. Be careful, don't step on mother, Itachi continued. Sasuke lowered his head in disbelief, and saw two heads. It was the head of his parents. A head with eyes wide open in anger. This moment, Sasuke only felt a burst of anger burning in his heart, and the anger went straight to his brain, blowing out all his thinking ability. Itachi, you're going to die. Sasuke gritted his teeth and roared, his whole body was filled with killing intent. And Sasuke's pupils also changed dramatically in an instant. Originally, there was only one Tomo eye, but a second and third Tomo appeared in an instant. But that's not all. The three Tomo transformed quickly, forming a unique shape. This moment, Sasuke successfully awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. But the price is... Swish! Sasuke's speed was fast, and a Rasengan flashing with lightning flashed in his hand. This is the lightning-style Rasengan formed after Sasuke softened Rasengan with his own chakra attribute. The Rasengan in the palm of his hand expanded to several meters in the blink of an eye, and hit Itachi heavily with the force of a thunderbolt. Boom! After an earth-shattering roar, the entire house was directly destroyed. Enough. Suddenly, a dignified, but very familiar voice to Sasuke came into Sasuke's ears. That made the madness in Sasuke's eyes retreat a little. Sasuke turned his head and looked in the direction of the voice. It was the father with a satisfied face, and the mother with a worried face. Father. Mother. At this moment, Sasuke was at a loss. The scene just now deeply shocked Sasuke, causing Sasuke's head to turn a little bit at this time. You are not. Makoto stepped forward and hugged his child, and kept stroking Sasuke's hair. Don't worry, everything is fake, we're fine. It's all just an illusion. Illusion. Sasuke suddenly understood. After all, Sasuke used to use illusion to open the eyes of Uchiha's goblins together with Naruto. It's just that everything happened so suddenly that Sasuke didn't have time to think. Otherwise, as long as Sasuke pays a little attention, he can see some abnormalities. For example, where did so much blood come from? That blood is almost the sum of the blood in more than a dozen people. So much blood, it's completely the atmosphere that Fugaku specially created to let Sasuke get into the state quickly. At this time, seeing Sasuke successfully awakened Mangekyo, Fugaku stepped forward and said with satisfaction. As expected of my son, I knew you wouldn't let me marry you. Sasuke looked up at Fugaku in surprise. Father, what do you mean? Fugaku nodded. That's right, now you have Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke was stunned when he heard that. Then he lowered his head, his hands hanging by his side. Makoto knelt down and looked at his son worriedly. Sasuke. Sasuke, what's wrong with you? Makoto looked up, looking at Fugaku worriedly. I just said that this idea is too exciting, can't we use some milder means? Fugaku frowned and said. This is the fastest way, and sooner or later he will be the patriarch of our Uchiha clan. If you can't even bear this level of despair, how can you carry the Uchiha clan on your back? Makoto sighed, looked at Sasuke and wanted to say something else. Then she heard a muffled laugh. Back and back. It was Sasuke who was laughing. At first, Sasuke just let out a low, piercing laugh. But then, he raised his head, his face was full of madness, and he laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Finally, I finally have a Mangekyo too, ha 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 ha. Wait, Naruto. With these eyes, I will catch up with you sooner or later. For Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke has been coveting for a long time. But Mangekyo didn't just come by hand, you have to experience enough despair. But Sasuke's strength has increased too much, and Sasuke himself can't help himself to open his eyes. After all, Sasuke couldn't do the illusion that he could believe. When I watched Uchiha Izumi and others awaken Mangekyo, Sasuke was still very envious even though he didn't show it on the surface. If I had these eyes, Naruto would definitely be my defeat. But I can only think about it. But now, Sasuke doesn't need to think about it. Because he already has these eyes, Sasuke is more confident about following in Naruto's footsteps. This great joy immediately made Sasuke vent the suppressed emotions in his heart. However, Makoto was worried again, but it was worry that scared Sasuke before. Now I worry about whether Sasuke's mental state is still normal. But to be honest, there is no one who is mentally healthy as a ninja. Sasuke is one of the representatives, so nothing to worry about. A ninja with a normal mind can't live long in this world. Naruto is indeed an opponent worth chasing after. Fugaku interrupted Sasuke's emotions with a loud voice, facing and looking at his son. Fugaku said. But if you think that having these eyes can compete with Naruto, then you underestimate Naruto too much. Do you know why I suddenly opened your eyes? Sasuke really doesn't know about this. After all, Fugaku knows that this eye-opening method is no longer a day or two. But I didn't help him open his eyes before, but now he opened them very suddenly. All Sasuke could think of was the Chunin exam. Father wants me to beat the crowd in the Chunin exam? Yes, but not entirely. Fugaku said. As a Uchiha, and also my son, if you do poorly in the Chunin exam, it is a disgrace to the Uchiha clan. But the main reason for it is because I met Naruto last night. Hearing Naruto's name, Sasuke's eyes froze. I didn't expect that kid Naruto to be practicing at night. No, I had to practice more tonight. Fugaku nodded in satisfaction and said. It's okay to practice more, but the direction of practice needs to be changed. Do you know the potential of the eyes you have now? The potential of Mangekyo Sharingan? Sasuke naturally didn't know. He nodded honestly, looking at his father with eyes full of curiosity. Fugaku didn't hold back and said directly. There is a secret technique unique to Mangekyo Sharingan called Susanoo. Next, I will teach you to master this ability. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can't be Naruto's opponent at all. When Sasuke heard this, he was naturally dissatisfied. I have the legendary Mangekyo, why not Naruto's opponent? Naruto has no Mangekyo either, Fugaku said calmly. Because, he has completely mastered the power of the tailed beast. I saw it with my own eyes yesterday, and that power is astonishing. You can only fight Susanoo if you have mastered it. Susanoo. Sasuke is very puzzled, what is this thing with a somewhat awkward name? Although in the tone of his father Fugaku, Sasuke can hear that Susanoo is a very powerful ability. But without actually seeing it, Sasuke doesn't have a real feeling. And now Sasuke is not very clear about what ability his eyes have. So, Sasuke turned his curiosity to Fugaku, hoping to get an answer. Fugaku turned his head and gave Makoto a wink. Makoto backed away slowly and came to the door of the room. Afterwards, Fugaku spoke to Sasuke. Stand back, son, and keep your eyes open. This is Susanoo. The huge chakra emerged from Fugaku's body, then condensed into a huge translucent body. Fortunately, Sasuke's previous behavior knocked the room down, otherwise Fugaku would not be able to use it. Sasuke opened his mouth in shock, and as Susanoo's first stage gradually solidified on Fugaku's body, Sasuke also had to step back to make room for Susanoo. Then, Sasuke raised his head and looked at the tall Susanoo, his eyes were full of shock and enthusiasm. This is Susanoo? Sasuke's heart was burning, and his eyes were full of yearning. Do I have such power too? The power that belongs only to our Uchiha clan? At this moment, Sasuke wished he could learn Susanoo right away. But obviously, this is impossible. Without someone to teach, no matter how talented Sasuke is, it is impossible to learn Sasuke alone in a short period of time. This is phase 1 for Susanoo, Fugaku said in a deep voice. And you have to learn more than that, you have to go one step further and reach the full body of Susanoo, so that you can compete with Naruto. It's just Susanoo who has mastered my level. Although you can fight Naruto twice, you are definitely not Naruto's opponent. His father's words were like a heavy hammer, hitting Sasuke's heart hard. Sasuke opened his mouth in shock, unable to believe it. In Sasuke's view, Susanoo at this time is already a very amazing existence. As a result, his father Fugaku told him that learning this is no match for Naruto at all. When did Naruto become so strong? Mingming had been chasing after him all the time, but now he was severely left in the distance. Sasuke couldn't believe it. But Sasuke believes that his father will not lie about this matter. Moreover, the passage to quickly catch up with Naruto is now in front of Sasuke. He only needs to seize this opportunity, and he will be able to make a big splash in the Chunin exam 2 days later. Sasuke, although this is difficult, I believe that with your talent, you can definitely do it. Fugaku retracted Susanoo, sweating slightly on his forehead. Obviously for Fugaku, opening Susanoo was a very labor-intensive thing. However, there was trust in Fugaku's eyes. Fugaku believes that his son is no worse than anyone else. Sasuke nodded heavily and said, "Don't worry, father, I will not let you down. I will definitely learn the perfect Susanoo, and I will show you a head-on victory over Naruto." Fugaku let out a hearty laugh. Good. As expected, he is the son of my Uchiha Fugaku. That's the momentum. You must not be weaker than others. We are the proud Uchiha clan. Yes. Father. Sasuke answered loudly, his little face flushed with excitement. 3 days, whether it is long or not, is not short. In the blink of an eye, it was already time for the preliminaries of the third test to begin. All qualified contestants were brought to the preliminaries. However, there are obviously more people watching the game than participating. And the most important guests to watch the game are naturally the 5 shadows of the 5 great nations. Next is Jonin of each ninja village. Although not the ninjas of the 5 major countries, only Yinin village has been promoted, but Jonin from other ninja villages still did not leave. Instead, he chose to stay and take a look at the strength of the promoted. Obviously, they are still a little unwilling, and want to refer to the strength of the promoted, why they can advance. They want to search to see if there is a shady existence. After all, Konoha village has too many people who have advanced. 32 people passed the test, and there were 15 people in Konoha alone. Although there were 2 abstentions, resulting in only 30 finalists, Konoha still had 14 finalists. This really has to make others doubt. The preliminaries arena is a closed practice field. The first floor is the competition venue, and the second floor is the auditorium. The 5 cages and the Jonin from each ninja village all gathered here, ready to watch the battle below. Because there are 30 people, there are 15 preliminaries in total. Ninja battles never last too long, so the preliminaries will end within today. The rest will naturally participate in the race. Show yourself in front of the crowd. At this time, 5 shadows were sitting in a row in the auditorium on the second floor. The third generation sitting at the main seat had a smile that couldn't be concealed. Fortunately, third generation still controlled not to show a smug expression. Even the third generation is very proud now. After all, there are so many Konoha passers, while there are only 2 or 3 sporadic ones in other Dainin villages. It can fully reflect the huge gap between Konoha and other ninja villages at this time. But what makes third generation a little bit afraid is that there are actually 8 qualified candidates in the little-known Atonin village. It was supposed to be 9, but 1 abstained, so it was 8. Except for Konoha, the 5 major countries only have 2 or 3 passers sporadically. As a result, there are 8 passers in a small ninja village, which will naturally attract the attention of third generation. However, third generation is naturally not sure that this ninja village is the masterpiece of his good apprentice Orochimaru. If third generation knew, the expression on his face would be very exciting. Similarly, the third generation is afraid, and others have also noticed the specialness of Yinin village. From time to time, his eyes fell on the people in Yinran village. But most of the time, they still set their sights on one person. That is the focus of all candidates, Naruto. After all, the 5 great powers agreed to take part in this unprecedented Chunin exam just to find an opportunity to get rid of their deepest worries. It's a pity that they seem to have nothing to do now. After all, the manpower they arranged didn't play any role, and instead they lost a lot of good players. Kirigakure can be said to have suffered the heaviest loss, and the Jonin who were arranged to enter were wiped out. Cloud Shinobi is relatively better, but there are only 2 people left. Sanagakure and Iwagakure are relatively better. Iwagakure was going to watch, and Sanagakure bet on Gaara. After all the contestants arrived, the consumptive examiner Moonlight Gale came to the center of the field. It's almost time, the candidates are all here, ahem. Let's start the preliminaries for the third exam of the Chunin exam. The preliminaries adopt a one-on-one elimination system, ahem. The winner advances, and the loser is eliminated. However, even if you are eliminated, ahem, there is no need to worry. The matter of evaluating Chunin's rating is a comprehensive consideration, rather than, ahem, completely relying on combat effectiveness. The Jonins in the auditorium on the second floor will rate you, ahem. When your performance is good enough, even if, ahem, you are eliminated, you still have a chance to advance to Chunin. So, use all your strength and wisdom, ahem, because you can defeat your opponent. Moonlight Gale is still the same as before, always coughing twice when talking, interrupting the rhythm. Kiba couldn't help but whispered to Shikamaru. I was really worried that he would suddenly fall to the ground, he looked like a sick child. Shikamaru also whispered, shut up, and be careful not to be heard. When the time comes, you will be disqualified from the competition, don't say I didn't warn you. Teeth immediately shut his mouth firmly. In the middle of the field, Moonlight Gale was still explaining the rules of the game. The opponents of the competition, ahem, are randomly drawn, and everyone has been asked to, ahem, randomly draw a number plate before. On the screen on the wall, ahem, 2 numbers will appear randomly, and will be randomized, ahem, and the people who are there will fight. Everyone looked at the wall, and there were 2 black digital screens on it. Moonlight Gale said, now start to draw the contestants for the first competition. Numbers appeared on the two digital screens, and they appeared randomly at a fast speed. Stop. As the voice of Moonlight Gale fell, the two digital screens stopped abruptly, and the numbers 12 and 17 were displayed on them. Contestant number 12. Moonlight Hayate looked in Naruto's direction. It's Kiba Inuzuka from Konoha village. Inuzuka put his hands in the pockets on his stomach, smiled and said. Then I'll go there first, I don't know who will be my opponent. Inuzuka Fang came to the right side of Moonlight Hayate and stood up. Moonlight Hayate then looked towards the ninjas in Yinin village. Contestant number 17 is Toshijin from Atonin village. Toss Anvil's face was covered with bandages, only his left eye was exposed. There are strange ninja tools on both hands, which makes people care. Faced with the teeth of a child at first glance, Toss Gen was not careless at all, but his face was solemn. Toss Gen knew that these children who looked like little ghosts were all amazing in strength. Didn't you see that Master Orochimaru can't beat Naruto and Sasuke who are only 7 years old? Although Iba's name is unknown, but since he is a person around Naruto and the others, and has passed the second exam, which is almost like a meat grinder, it is enough to show that Iba is not an ordinary child. When the two stood still, Moonlight Gale nodded and said. The two contestants are already in place. Now I announce that the competition begins. Whoosh. Moonlight Gale disappeared in place, making room for the two players. Toss Gen didn't dare to neglect, and immediately used his strongest move. The unique ninja tool with air holes on the right hand immediately sucked air, and then Toss Anvil rushed towards the teeth at an extremely fast speed, and pushed the fist. Toss is confident that even if this trick misses, as long as the distance is close enough, the enemy can lose the ability to fight. However, ideals are wonderful, but the reality is cruel. Toss's punch hit the tooth heavily. But with a bang, Fang turned into a stake along with a cloud of white mist. Is body replacement technique? Toss Anvil's eyes widened, and he immediately turned his head to look for the tooth's position. Are you looking for me? However, the sound of teeth came from the top of Toth Anvil's head. Toss raised his head suddenly, and saw the teeth falling from the sky, and the fist hit Toss's face with great force. Boom. Toss Anvil was knocked down heavily, his head was even sunk into the field. Naturally, after receiving such a severe blow to the head, Vance passed out directly. A clean punch directly solved the same promotion. The gap between the two is too obvious. After the tooth punched down, without waiting for the referee's decision, he put his hands in his pockets and punched his friends. Behind him, the sound of Moonlight Gale came long overdue. Contestant Tossin is in a coma, the winner, contestant Inuzuka Kiba. The second exam is about to begin. After taking the injured down and simply repairing the damaged field, the second test was ready to begin. In the spectator seats on the second floor, the Jonins from each ninja village saw Yaw's strength one after another, but they were not surprised. Although the crisp and sharp movements of the teeth are very pleasing to the eye, but Toss's strength is too low, and he has no strength to lure teeth out. Therefore, they are not good at judging anything. In the corner, Akatsuki, pretending to be a range shinobi village ninja, watched quietly. During the second exam, Deidara and Hidan were entangled by Anbu in the root people before they went to Naruto, and then fought with other ninjas from Ninja Village. There was no time to find Naruto during the whole process. In the end, seeing that the exam was about to end, in order to ensure that their identities were not exposed, they did not pass the exam, but silently gave up. Afterwards, he changed his disguise again, and started watching with other Jonin from Ninja Village in a grand manner. Konoha's little ghost is really strong, one hit will kill him. Kisame said in a frivolous tone. I don't know when your brother will return to the stage, Itachi. Are you looking forward to your brother's fight? Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Itachi who said nothing. But Itachi just set his eyes on Sasuke, with imperceptible softness hidden in his eyes. Sasuke, being able to see you is enough, Itachi secretly thought in relief. Sasuke noticed Itachi's sight, and immediately looked up, but what he saw was only a group of ordinary uncles, and he couldn't find the sight just now. Although Sasuke was puzzled, he quickly focused on the field. The two people in the second test are Kankuro from Sanagakure and a Genin from Iwagakure, which is also a teammate of Black Earth. After a fierce battle, Kankuro was victorious. Onoki expressed his dissatisfaction with this. I can't even beat those who play with sand, it seems that I really lack of training recently. Although Onogi said very lightly, the one sitting next to him was Keisuke Rasa. Seeing that her son had defeated the opponent, Luo Sha nodded insignificantly. Not satisfied with Kankuro's performance, but very satisfied with the victory over Iwagakure. After a while, as the site is trimmed, the third test will start soon. Moonlight Gale looked at the two numbers randomly appearing on the wall, and softly announced the two contestants. Yamanaka Ino from Konoha Village versus Kim from Atonin Village. It's my turn. Ino smiled confidently, and a body flicker technique came to Moonlight Gale. This scene directly turned Jin's face green. How can I beat an enemy with body flicker technique? To be honest, in the second exam, the Genin trio from Yinin Village were not qualified to advance at all. If they hadn't been with Orochimaru in the Atonin 5 and happened to get the scroll they needed, they wouldn't have advanced. As a result, they can be said to be the three with the lowest strength among all the passers. And Kim was the weakest of their group. Seeing Ino's extremely proficient body flicker technique, it was like giving up the game. But Jin dared not. After all, Orochimaru was watching from above. If she gets cold feet, no, can't escape. Anyway, if you lose, you won't die. But if she abstained, what awaited her would be worse than death. Taking a deep breath, Jin came to stand opposite Ino. Moonlight Galewind looked at the two little girls, and then said, "Game start." Swish. Without giving any chance, Ino immediately walked to Jin's side, and sent the unprepared Jin flying with a straight punch. Boom. Jin hit the wall heavily and passed out completely. This is arguably the fastest battle to date. But just like in Ya's match, the gap in strength between the two players was too great, and nothing could be seen at all. The gold contestant is in a coma, and the winner is contestant Yamanaka Ino from Konoha Village. Then came the fourth game. Every day against Black Soil. Immediately after the Moonlight Gale announced the start, Black Soil flew into the air with the light and heavy rock technique. Because of the discovery of the Black Soil, Konoha's people seem to be able to use the fast body flicker technique. In order to avoid stepping into the footsteps of the other two from Yinin Village, Hyuga had no choice but to use his air superiority. However, Tianshin did not use the body flicker technique, but took out a few kunai in a leisurely manner. I advise you to surrender quickly. Good words to persuade each other every day. Hyuga felt that he had been provoked. She is the daughter of Tangtang Tsuchikage, how could she surrender to a little girl? Don't worry, I can't surrender. Black Earth uttered bold words. But as everyone knows, Yinyamu almost slipped off his chair when he heard this. My good granddaughter, why don't you just surrender honestly? Didn't you see that Konoha's little ghosts are all monsters? The instant speed, even the Jonin in the village may not be as fast as them. There is no need to fight to the death with this kind of opponent. Hyuga naturally couldn't hear what Onoki said. All she wants now is to maintain the pride of her Tsuchikage granddaughter. But soon, Hyuga felt that this pride was worthless. Ah! Black Soil let out a piercing scream, and the voice was full of panic and fear. Accompanied by the screams of the Black Soil, there are also a lot of explosions. It was as if dozens of detonators exploded one after another. But in fact, these are just kunai and shuriken thrown every day. It's just that these kunai and shurikens are injected with blasting chakra every day, so they can explode. Moreover, under the power of the explosion, the fragments of kunai and shuriken that were blown up turned into deadly fragments and shot out in all directions. This is more powerful than the detonating talisman. The only downside is that there are some fee kunai and shuriken. It's still too late for you to surrender. Tien said while throwing kunai and shuriken. I deliberately didn't attack in your direction right now. After all, you can't kill people in this battle. If you die, then I will lose my qualifications. But if it continues, I can't guarantee it. I abstain. I abstain. Hyuga came with a crying voice. She fell down unwillingly, her face full of frustration. The closed roof greatly restricted her freedom. If it was outside the arena, even if Tianshin really threw these explosive kunai and shuriken at her, Kuroto would not have the slightest fear. But the current situation is obviously very unfavorable to the Black Earth. In desperation, Hyuga could only surrender. Phew, it's okay. Onoki breathed a sigh of relief. When watching his granddaughter being beaten and running around, Onoki almost lost control and wanted to make a move. Fortunately, Onoki held back. Otherwise, if Onoki makes a move, things will become skyrocketing. The Black Soil player abstained. The winner is the Tianshin player of Konoha Village. The game continued. Shikamaru against Tayuya Atonin. You don't seem motivated. Tayuya held a fife in his hand and looked at Shikamaru with a smile, his eyes full of provocation. Shikamaru shrugged, not quite answering. In fact, Shikamaru was also really unmotivated. What a boring man. Oh, it should be a boy, after all you are so young. Tayuya gestured with his thumb and index finger for the universe between his fingers, with a mocking smile on his face. But Shikamaru was unimpressed. His character is not aggressive in itself. Cut. All provocations didn't work. Hyuga curled his lips, and then put the fife on his lips. In that case, then I'll just eliminate you, anyway, you don't look motivated. Saying that, Hyuga was going to play the fife. But at this moment, Hyuga suddenly found himself unable to move his body. The fife on his lips also moved away little by little. The shadow imitation technique was successful. Shikamaru smiled and said, "You talk a lot, but you seem to have a carefree personality. I'm afraid you won't notice these subtle changes at all, right?" Hyuga's eyes immediately fell to the ground. On the ground, there is an extremely thin black line connecting the shadows of the two. Although Hyuga was a little panicked, she immediately noticed the problem. "Since it's an imitation, then if you attack me, it means that I will attack you too." Shikamaru shrugged, then crouched down, placing the palm of his right hand on the ground. Dosu, who was controlled, could only follow suit. This inexplicable action immediately made Dosu very puzzled. "What are you doing?" Dosu couldn't help asking. Shikamaru smiled and said, "You guess." Seeing Shikamaru's smile, Hyuga felt alarm bells ringing in his heart. She can be controlled, and she can't make any movements at all. If this is the state of turning into the second spell, maybe there will be a turning point. But Orochimaru didn't allow them to use the curse seal in this battle. After all, the power of the curse seal is not going to be exposed yet. Alarm bells rang in Hyuga's heart. Even she intends to ignore Orochimaru's warning and use the power of the spell to break free from Shikamaru's shadow mimicry. But before she could really move, with a loud noise, the ground under Hyuga's feet suddenly exploded. Dosu also bare the brunt of the blow. The whole person was directly blown up, and he was already in a coma when he was in the air and went to the doctor. Winner. Contestant Shikamaru of Konoha Village. Moonlight Gale announced loudly the victory of the game. The Atonin 5 silently watched the game. No one felt sorry for Hyuga's defeat. "What a fool." Kidomaru couldn't help but said. "It is really stupid to dare to fight the enemy without knowing the details of the enemy." Zuo Jin also nodded and said, "I even wanted to propose to Master Orochimaru. This kind of person really lowers our overall strength. Even with the curse mark, it's too weak." Jirobo nodded and said, "Weak, too weak." The eyes of the three of them were also full of disdain for the unconscious Deu. Even as a person from the same ninja village, there was no more Yuya who went to bring her back when she was in a coma. Instead, Konoha's staff were allowed to bring the unconscious Yuya back on a stretcher. Only Kidomaru said nothing. Looking away from the disguised Orochimaru on the second floor, Kidomaru failed to express any opinion. "This kind of thing is not something you can discuss. The one who can decide our fate is Lord Orochimaru." Although the words were soft, they were full of power when they fell into the ears of the three people on the left. Because of Orochimaru's majesty and their deep fear of Orochimaru. Although they saw with their own eyes that Orochimaru was defeated by Naruto and Sasuke, but anyway, Orochimaru wanted to deal with them easily. The long-standing fear is not something that can be easily melted away. Second floor. Seeing that the winner was decided, Naruluju couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Kakashi on the side heard the sound of relief, and couldn't help turning his head and laughing. "It seems that you are very nervous, Lu Ju-song." Lu Ju smiled wryly and said, "Of course, I'm a father after all. Of course I'm concerned for my son's safety. Fortunately, everything is going well." Lu Ju relaxed. When the battle just started, Lu Ju's body was tense. Although Lu Ju believed that his son would definitely be able to deal with his opponent. But when it comes to his head, Lu Ju still inevitably feels nervous. This may also be because Shikamaru is only 7 years old now, just a child. "Ha ha ha. Don't worry." A big hand clapped on Lu Ju's shoulder, and he gave a hearty smile, and then a man with a watermelon head came over. It was Might Guy. Shikamaru is the kid who trained with Naruto and the others. His strength must be unfathomable. Maybe even you are no longer his opponent. Lu Ju smiled. His smile was full of pride, but he still spoke modestly. This kid still needs to grow up for a few years." Might Guy's hearty smile spread downstairs. Shao Li looked up for the first time, then lowered his head and said excitedly, "It's really cool. To control the enemy's actions with the shadow imitation technique while the other party is talking. Shikamaru, you are so smart." Shikamaru was a little complacent, but there was no sense of complacency in his words. "It's just that the other party is too stupid to notice. I'm still worried that the other party will find out, so I can only say that I am worthy of being a member of Ninja Village." Corner of the second floor. Scorpion asked with a frown. "Deidara, does that kid use the same ninjutsu as your blasting technique?" Deidara nodded and said, "We all learned from Master Naruto, naturally it is the same thing." Hidan suddenly said in a strange way, Master Naruto? Don't forget the purpose of our coming. Uzumaki Naruto is our enemy. Deidara gave Hidan a blank look, as if looking at an idiot. I don't want to talk to an idiot, so I'll just explain it once. When Hidan heard this, he became impatient. What did you say? Stretching his hand into his bosom, he planned to pull out the folded scythe. Fortunately, Kakuzu had quick eyes and quick hands, and held Hidan down, so that he didn't attract the attention of others. Deidara didn't care about Hidan's actions, and said slowly. Although Naruto is my master, it doesn't mean I will be soft because of it. Have you ever heard the saying that the blue is better than the blue? My goal is to surpass Master Naruto. For this reason, even if I kill Master Naruto, I will not hesitate. Deidara couldn't help but say it, and thought so in her heart. But Deidara is also very clear that if he wants to go back, it is basically impossible for him to really surpass Naruto. It is really Naruto's progress speed is too fast. When Deidara took a step, Naruto had already run 100 meters. This is the huge gap between the two. It will not be shortened because of time, but will become bigger and bigger. Moreover, the most frightening thing is that Naruto Grandmaster's power is not just one, but multiple abilities all Grandmaster. This is the scariest place. The game continues. Played by Choji against Jirobo of Atonin Village. Naruto watched this match, his eyelids twitched. Then sigh. Is this destiny? Little Sakura turned her head curiously. What's the matter? What fate? Naruto shook his head and said. Nothing. But he still felt very curious. Without his intervention, time would have progressed in the normal order, when Sasuke followed Orochimaru, and then Shikamaru led the team to chase Sasuke back. The first match was between Choji and Jirobo. To this end, Choji also resorted to hidden family secrets. If it was just a pure Choji versus Jirobo, Naruto would not have a strong sense of deja vu. But I just watched the battle between Shikamaru and Hyuga, and now I watch Choji and Jirobo again, and the sense of deja vu becomes even stronger. Could it be the next fight between Neji and Kidomaru? Unfortunately, Ya has already finished fighting, and the opponent is not Zuo Jin. Naruto said softly, and shook his head regretfully. The little Sakura next to him heard, but couldn't understand what Naruto was saying. At this time, the game officially began. Jirobo was the first to attack. Because of Hyuga's lesson, Jirobo didn't mean to talk nonsense at all. Earth-style dungeon hall. With a clap of his hands on the ground surged out of the rock wall, trapping Choji who was standing there. The rock walls finally closed together, forming a bowl shape upside down on the ground. Hey, if you catch me, just wait to be sucked dry. Jirobo smiled and put his hands on the outside of the rock wall, ready to absorb Choji's chakra trapped inside. However, Jirobo absorbed nothing. Inside, nobody? What? Realizing this, Jirobo immediately turned around. Since people are not inside, they must be outside. But where exactly? How does that fat body hide itself? You are too slow. The figure of Choji suddenly appeared in front of Jirobo. Jirobo was taken aback for a moment, and then saw a huge fist that was bigger than his entire body appearing in front of his eyes. Afterwards, the violent force directly sent Jirobo flying heavily, and deeply let the minister who was embedded in the wall. Moonlight Gale went up to take a look, and then raised his hand to announce the result. Jirobo from Otoshi village is unconscious, so the winner is Akamichi Choji from Konoha village. However, Yinjia did not express anything about this result. Just staring at Choji who took out his potato chips and ate them as he walked. This size actually has such a terrifying speed. You obviously don't look very old. Why are these Konoha's little Joe Wen? Is this the strength of Konoha? It's really scary. It's really unbelievable. At the moment of being locked up, he escaped and made the opponent unaware of his existence at a very high speed. I remember that Mu Yi Chu Dao clan only has strength, but now they even have speed. So far, Konoha's boys and girls are all victorious. They are really too strong. The ninjas in Shaonin village whispered and expressed their feelings for the strength of Xiaoqiang. I even thought that all the children of Konoha were so powerful. On the second floor, Shikajiu smiled and said to his old partner Akamichi Dingza. Congratulations. Ding Zuo said with a smile. It's a good thing to be happy together and make progress together. With that said, Ding Zuo's grateful eyes fell on Naruto below. It's all because of Naruto that he won his current strength for the first time. Corner of the second floor. Hidan couldn't help but said. This group of little ghosts from Konoha is still evil. The strength of each one is quite terrifying. At such a young age, I can master such a powerful body flicker technique proficiently. Although he hadn't seen Naruto make a move yet, Hidan already felt in his heart whether their plan this time was too reckless. If he and Deidara really met Naruto in the second test, would they have beaten Naruto? At this point Hidan expresses deep doubts, said in a hoarse voice. All of this is related to Naruto. Their strength is so strong, all of which were taught by Naruto. That's why we are eager to remove Uzumaki Naruto, a clear and visible obstacle to the future. Pain said lightly. Not this time, now is not the time for us to surface. And sooner or later, we will find him. Nine Tails is on him after all. Conan continued. Taking advantage of this time, carefully observe Naruto's strength and find a breakthrough. Even if there is no chance now, one day we will still face this magical boy. When the time comes, I think you guys don't want to be another record for Uzumaki Naruto. After a simple field repair, the game will continue soon. This time, it's Neji against Atonin Village's Kidomaru. Seeing this result, even as calm as Naruto, he couldn't help but widen his eyes in surprise. The little Sakura next to him looked at Naruto in shock. Naruto-kun, do you still prophesy? What else is there that Naruto-kun you don't know? Little Sakura was shocked, but more adored. Naruto came back to his senses, and touched his nose in embarrassment. I just guessed, not a prophecy, it's just a coincidence. Although Naruto knows the general direction of the future. But as he intervened in more and more things, the appearance of the future also changed drastically. Even Naruto can't promise what the future holds. And what Naruto can do is to try his best to improve his own strength before the coming of the strong enemy in the future. Come face any enemy. Hearing Naruto's denial, little Sakura was a little disappointed, but she could understand. It turned out to be just a coincidence, but Naruto-kun was able to guess it. It's really amazing. What guess is Naruto-kun relying on? Naruto smiled and said. Intuition. Of course, it is impossible for Naruto to tell little Sakura the memories of his previous life. Leaving aside whether little Sakura can accept it, there is no need for him to say such unbelievable things. He was dead in his previous life. Standing here now, is Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto who controls his own destiny. With the announcement of the referee Moonlight Hayate, the match between Neji and Kidomaru officially began. As soon as the match started, Kidomaru immediately jumped back to open the distance. After all, Kidomaru's combat style is better at long-range combat. But Neji didn't give Kidomaru a chance at all. In a blink of an eye, he came behind Kidomaru. At this time, Kidomaru jumped back, as if he had given his back to Neji. Oops. At the moment of jumping back, Neji was lost in front of his eyes, and Kidomaru immediately realized that something was wrong. But it was impossible for him to do other movements when jumping back, so he could only turn his head reluctantly, and saw Neji who took the stance out of the corner of his eye. Kidomaru recognized that posture. When Orochimaru was going to catch Neji, Neji used this posture to beat Orochimaru hard, and then took the opportunity to escape. Even Orochimaru may not be able to withstand the offensive, and Kidomaru does not have the confidence to stop it. Armor with sticky gold. Kidomaru immediately secreted this unique sticky gold from the surface of the skin, quickly covering the whole body, making the skin metallized, greatly improving the defense. Just then, Neji turned into a phantom and charged forward. Gentle fist profound meaning 128 palms. Neji's hands turned into countless palm shadows, which exploded on the unsuspecting ghost. Even with the highly defensive gold-glued armor, Kidomaru can still feel the strength of the penetrating tendons. No. If you continue, even the gold stick armor won't be able to prevent it. Kidomaru was extremely anxious, but under Neji's stormy offensive, he had no experience of resisting at all. Soon, cracks appeared on the gold stick armor on Kidomaru's body, and they expanded rapidly. When Neji's 128 palms hit halfway, the gold stick armor shattered. It's over. This was Kidomaru's last thought. Then his consciousness was completely annihilated under the countless palm techniques that followed. Like a small bamboo raft floating in a storm, it fell silent to the bottom of the sea in an instant. By the time Neji finished his attack, Kidomaru had already lost consciousness. With Neji's last palm, his whole body was launched like a cannonball, smashing through the wall and flying out of the preliminaries examination room. Everyone looked sideways at Neji, especially those who knew something about the Hyuga clan. They were even more surprised. I remember that the Hyuga family's profound technique is 64 palms, but this boy's strikes far exceed this number. Could this be the hidden meaning of the Hyuga clan? It's really too strong. As expected of one of the strongest ninjas in Konoha, even a 7-year-old kid's strength is unfathomable. Darren Village is really scary. Such a young boy has such great strength. If those adult ninjas, would they be more obedient? The people in Shaoran Village talked a lot, and they looked at Neji, who went back indifferently in surprise. Beside Hyuga Hiyashi, Konoha's Jonin all looked sideways and didn't say congratulations rashly. After all, Neji is the child of Hyuga Hiyashi's younger brother, and is a branch house. They say congratulations at this time, maybe they will annoy Hyuga Hiyashi. It's better to act like nothing happened. Waiting for Hyuga Hiyashi's daughter, Hinata, to appear and check the situation. Players' seats on the first floor. Teeth held the back of his head, and said to Neji with a bored face. How did you end it so quickly? I also want to see what the six-armed guy can do. Neji said flatly. The opponent's strength is too weak, it's not worth my precious time. Teeth shrugged and said. Forget it, I'm afraid I have no ability to be defeated so easily by you. In the direction of Yinin village, Kidomaru remained expressionless. But Zuo Jin's face was very gloomy. Right now, only he and Kidomaru are left among the 5 Atonin. I thought it was just a trivial matter to advance. It can be seen that whether any of them can advance smoothly is probably a big problem. Thinking of this, Zuo Jin couldn't help but looked up at Orochimaru on the second floor, and was relieved when he found that Orochimaru's eyes didn't fall on him. Do you want to use spells? Zuo Jin couldn't help thinking about it. If you use the power of the seal, there should be a possibility of victory, right? Zuo Jin didn't even dare to be sure of 100% victory, but just felt that it could increase the winning rate. At this time, Kidomaru, who turned his back to Zuo Jin, suddenly spoke. Don't think about using the curse seal, that will only reveal our identities and master Orochimaru's plan. Zuo Jin was taken aback. The exposure of his mind being guessed made Zuo Jin very uncomfortable. Even if I don't need it, I can still advance. Zuo Jin said with an unfriendly expression, but was very flustered in his heart. He really has no bottom. However, the idea of using the curse seal has been restrained. If you can't beat it, it's just a failure at most, and you will be blamed or punished. But if Orochimaru's plan is destroyed, there may be dire consequences waiting around. As for why the use of the spell would expose Orochimaru's plans. Because Konoha, or the third generation, knows very well that the curse seal is Orochimaru's power. On Mitarashi Anko's body, there is a curse mark. As long as the Atonin 5 use the curse seal, third generation will definitely recognize it immediately. At that time, it will be revealed that the leader of Atonin village is Orochimaru. This will undoubtedly affect many of Orochimaru's plans. So, after Kidomaru said it, Zuo Kan restrained his idea of using the curse seal. After spending some time patching the holes in the wall, Biu continued. Zuo Jin was suddenly called out. And Zuo Jin's opponent is Hinata, who also comes from the Hyuga clan, but is indeed the daughter of the head of the clan. Seeing Hinata's debut, Yu Shang Yuding's hand clenched unconsciously. Although he has seen his daughter's rapid progress during this period of time, Hyuga Hiyashi still couldn't help worrying about such a strange enemy. After all, Hinata is only 7 years old, and doesn't have much combat experience. Hyuga Hiyashi is not worried about Hinata's strength, but worried that Hinata has fallen into the enemy's trap. After all, Hinata is too simple, and it is easy to be deceived at first glance. Looking at Hinata's opponent, Kiba couldn't help but whistle. Another weird guy. Is that a head on his back? Is the guy deformed or something? Shikamaru said with a shrug. Who knows? Then Naruto said. On his back is his big brother, named Yujin. The right side is sleeping in Zuo Jin's body all the time, and will only appear to assist when fighting. Tooth asked curiously. How do you know, Naruto? The others also looked at Naruto curiously. Naruto said lightly. I've seen it before. As for where he saw it, Naruto naturally wouldn't say. Fortunately, Ya and the others did not ask, but asked curiously. How did that guy named Yujin sleep in his brother's body? Is it some kind of secret technique? Naruto nods. It is a unique secret technique that can decompose and reorganize one's own cells. However, Yujin can not only sleep in the body of the younger brother, but also parasitize into the body of the enemy, and then destroy the meridian system. Hearing this, Hyuga Neji's complexion tightened suddenly, and he turned to look at Hinata. Neji's eyes were filled with worry. Naruto patted Neji's shoulder and said with a smile. Don't worry, Hinata is very strong. Don't you know that best? Neji didn't really relax. But the enemy's ability is too weird. I'm worried Miss Hinata will fall for it. Naruto smiled. Don't worry, Hinata is not really as weak as she appears. Field. Zuo Jin said in a low voice. Big brother, I need your help. Yukon lowered his head, but did not respond. But Yukon, who shared the body, knew that his brother Yukon was ready. As long as there is an appropriate time, Hinata looked a little embarrassed. But as Moonlight Gale announced the start of the game, Hinata's expression immediately became serious. Blind eyes. Blood vessels protrude on both sides of the beautiful white pupil. Hinata has already used the bloodline of the family. This is... What a strange body. The flow of chakra in the nearby body was immediately noticed by Hinata. This is different from ordinary people's chakra flow, which immediately aroused Hinata's vigilance. As for Zuo Jin, he picked up a handful of kunai, and rushed over without hesitation. Hinata was secretly on guard in her heart, and waved her palms in response. Facing Zuo Jin's attack, Hinata used a body flicker technique to get behind the opponent. Then Hinata slammed a palm on the left back pill.